We're live. Hey everyone, the man you're watching is Dr. Death, and he's live. And now that I've got him here, I'm going to go to the YouTube channel and fire it up real quick.
Let me know so I can tweet it out as well.
You got it. I'm actually, the watch page is actually already on. If you go to Zenny62 on YouTube, you'll see it. You'll see yourself. I'm just going there right now so I can put you all side by side so that what you see will be, in part, your face.
Gotta give some people some eye candy, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, you know, I'll call Gal Gadot when I want that. Right now I got you. Oh, don't leave, Ray. Don't leave. No, just oh my God! Like I can get Gal Gadot on this show. I can dream. Hey, that'll be a good thing. But like I said, Ray, you're a fantastic substitute under the circumstances. How's that? So
thanks, man.
You got it. You got it. All right. So now we're firing this up. We put that on mute. That is on mute. All right. And I'm gonna write hello all, hello, and then I'm gonna bring you into the picture here. First, I'm gonna tweet this out before I do.
I'm gonna try to keep up with the comments during the show.
Cool. Yeah, and
see all the rabble rousing going on in the chat room.
You know it. So hashtag NFL, hashtag Raiders, got it. Oh, and I have some breaking news related to the NFL side of this controversy. But before I get to that, folks, we have before us the one, the only, the grand, the glorious, the great, my friend Raymond Perez, a.k.a., let me move this over a bit, a.k.a. Dr. Death. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Zenny. Thank you for having me. Hello to everybody. It's great to see you, man. Great to be on with everybody.
Hey, so let's get right to it. First of all, Raiders and Las Vegas, you have not, I take it you followed through on your promise, because I remember earlier this year, and you and I talked quite a bit, so this is not, I'm not saying anything that, is out of school, but you were pissed off to the point where you basically renounced being a Raider fan as you used to be, right?
Oh, I'm done. I've had this conversation quite regularly with people. This last weekend was drinking some wine with two of my best friends from high school. They're Raider fans, but they told me, they're like, Ray, we grew up with you here in West Sacramento. How are you giving up something that you were just so passionate about? And I really had to tell them, because they have 4 beautiful children of their own, right? Mm-hmm. And I had to tell them, to me, because it's my experience, to me, it's bigger than football. It's how we were treated on all levels. And I'm not saying the city of Oakland is completely innocent. That's not what I'm saying. But from the little things, I'll give you an example. Both you and I, we went to city council meetings over the last 4 years, dozens of them, council meetings, to vouch for legislature, like Measure BB, environmental impact reports, legislature that consisted of almost $200 million, if not more, for a Raider stadium. If not more, right?
Yep.
I went to college. I put myself through college. I worked 30 hours a week, worked at Joe's Crab Shack. Many others took time off of work and get their kids situated to go to City Hall at 5:30 at night, JPA meetings at 8 in the morning over the last 4 years. But Mark Davis never attended any of these meetings. Mm-hmm. He always told us that he really wanted to stay, and he was trying really hard, but was putting more time into Carson, San Antonio, and Las Vegas. In my family, we call that lying. I don't deal with liars. That's number one. Okay? Mm-hmm. Number 2, Las Vegas ranks dead last in the country in education. Mm-hmm. They couldn't raise $14 million, had to cut class sizes in half, but were able to implement a tax. Granted, it wouldn't go to education, I guess, but just the fact on the surface that they were able to implement an 88-cent tax for a billionaire, but couldn't get money to go to education. Me, I'm not trying to proselytize anybody. You're just asking me a question.
Yeah.
I can't stand for that. I love children. I don't have kids of my own, but my 2 best friends, they have 4 beautiful children. Mm-hmm. That would infuriate me if my nieces and nephews weren't getting enough money in their education system but a billionaire was getting enough money for a facility that he uses 10 times out of the year.
Right.
I can't stand for that. When many of us season ticket holders, or you go to 2 games a year and you have to sacrifice money, right? The last 14 years have not been fun as a Raider fan. But while the Raiders were giving away tickets for free, that buy one get one free, we were still buying season tickets when they sucked. Where's my loyalty? When you have the city of Cincinnati that had to sell a hospital to pay off the debt for a billionaire, I can't be involved with an entity like the NFL that is involved with that. When you have stadiums, Seattle, Indianapolis, Philadelphia, Arizona just had to refinance their own publicly financed stadium even after hosting a Super Bowl. Of those 4 stadiums, 3 of them had over millions of dollars of debt still to be paid on stadiums that don't even exist anymore.
Right.
And yet they want to continue public financing at the behest of money, whether it's on the surface and it just doesn't look good, taking money that goes to a stadium, when schools are suffering and school systems rank dead last in the country, when you have the crappy streets in Oakland, respectfully, that need money to be filled. But yet Mark Davis wants to leave to a city that has built him a stadium, renovated a stadium, and a community that has invested in PSLs. He wants them to come together, assuming to raise taxes again.
Hey, hold that.
I can't. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to, Marcellus Thomas, my email is zenny@zenny62.com. Hello, everybody. I'm going to go back to Ray real quick. I just want to take what basically amounts to a special break. Not a break, like maybe 3, 4, 5 seconds, just to acknowledge all these comments going by. Ray, continue. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
And here's the thing, right? You're asking an almost simple question where you have to think, and I'm speaking for many here, the Raiders were our life because it was a culture. But at the same breath, I am not in a cult either. And I've asked a friend of mine, older gentleman, he's in his 50s, I said, can the Raiders do anything to you for you to no longer follow them? There's only one thing in this world that nothing can be done to me, that I can no longer follow, and that's God. Nothing, you can't do anything to me for me to not be a God-fearing individual. Everything else, I will not follow. That includes the Raiders. And in the same breath, I asked my friend, can the Catholic Church, he's Catholic like I am, can they do anything to you? And he said, sure, the Catholic Church can do X, Y, and Z. Then I asked him, can the Raiders? And he goes, no, they can't do anything. That tells me right here that I think some people put the Raiders in almost a cult-like manner.
Yeah.
And I had to look back at all the passion, not just me, but I saw all the faithful community and fans in Oakland and out of country that put their loyalty, their money, and their energy into Mark Davis and the Oakland Raiders, but they weren't giving it back to me. And that's where I said, as an American, as a man, there's something wrong with that picture. But here's the thing. Zenny, I don't expect you. I don't expect Joe Schmo or Veronica or Gabe or anybody. I don't expect them, respectfully, to take on what I'm saying. You don't have to. That's your money. Your experience is different than mine. I think it's just maybe I'm in a polarizing figure, and that's why my point of view stands out.
Gold Raiders says, hey, Dr. Death, will you be a fan of the NFL? If you will you be a 49ers fan? I think you kind of answered that. Melvin Lovejoy said, wow, great points. And, Marcellus Thomas wants me to post my email. Let me do that 1 second real quick here. Zennie, ZENNIE, at ZENNIE62.com. Go there. Okay. All right, Dr. Death?
I've gotten that question asked in a variety of ways. Some who were like really serious. They said, well, would you direct your passion to another football team? Maybe not the Niners. Because my close family and friends know I hate the Niners with a passion. I think at one point, I hated the Niners more than I loved the Raiders. Almost. and then some people ask that facetiously. Oh, you're just going to be a Niner fan.
You weren't one of those people that got in the fights in the stands. Do you realize you're talking to the guy that reestablished the 49er Raider preseason game?
Oh, yeah. Nah, I hate that. You know, a lot of my family and friends are diehard Niner fans.
Dude. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I know. A lot of my friends are diehard Niner fans, but I still hate the Niners. But here's the answer that I give across the board. Mm-hmm. Why would I take on a team that voted for me to leave? And if you look at the Dolphins, I don't relate to the Miami Dolphins because I don't relate to them geographically. Mm-hmm. There's no Dolphins here. I don't know what Aqua and Orange, respectfully, shout out to the Finlaws, the Fanatics, the Deep End, that they took me in like one of their own. Mm-hmm. I don't relate to them, even though they're one that Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, stood up and said the Raiders should not leave. They didn't meet the requirements.
Right.
But I don't relate to them. I relate to the Oakland Raiders because of the mystique, the blue collar, the grim, the blue collar mentality. That's what I related to. Mm-hmm. Niners, I don't relate to them. But, to add to that, why would I take on any team that voted for me to leave? What for what? Mm-hmm. Number two, the only way I will ever watch the NFL is if I have to. That's if I want to take up podcasting again, because that's my passion. Mm-hmm. Or as of recently, I've been considered...
I want to have you here, too. I'd like to have you on my channel. I'm saying that formally right here. I've said it to you privately, but I think you'd be a fantastic addition.
Hey, honestly, I appreciate that because I know the work that you put into your brand. I really do appreciate that. As of last week, I don't know if you saw me tweet this out, there was a company that offered me a position to be a reporter for their broadcast company. They didn't offer it, but they said, we'd love to talk to you more.
Yeah.
And I told them, let me be flat out honest with you. I said, I hate the Raiders, but I love my passion more. Now, if I am forced to cover the Raiders because it furthers my career, I'll do that.
Yeah, sure. Is that what this would entail?
It could be. I mean, for all I know, I may meet with them this week and they say, okay, thanks for meeting with me, but we're not going to offer you the job. Mm-hmm. That happens, great. But just to answer the question, the only way I will ever watch the NFL again, as much as I did before, is if it's for a job. Or two, I don't like bringing this up in conversation. Mark Davis would have to either sell the team or die for me to really maybe consider it. Maybe. Mm-hmm. But overall, for me to come back, I'd have to do it as a job. Or I'm not getting paid, but I'm doing it as a podcast, and I'm watching the NFL independently. That's the only way. I'm not buying any Raider gear or any of whatever. I'm not buying no NFL logo,
Now, Tony Piling says, great point of view, Dr. Death, as does Henry Flores. Henry Flores says, I agree with Ray. I hate the 49ers. I make the guy who cuts my lawn take off his Niners hat. I tell him he's on holy Raider land and to respect. That's hilarious. Juan Ramirez says, good evening, family. And Marcellus Thomas says, I'm West with Oakland, hashtag West with Oakland, but I still have to support the football organization side. And Juan Ramirez says, preach, Ray.
No, here's the thing. No, I appreciate that. And this is what I was telling my best friends over the weekend, and I've said this before. Like, you and I, me and you, mm-hmm. we have similar paths on what we took, but it's still a little bit different. I was a season ticket holder. I dressed up.
Right.
But we were both involved. Mm-hmm. Raider fans, someone made this argument, and they have a really good point. Just because an owner like Mark Davis took over 5 years ago doesn't mean that one individual should ruin my fandom that I've had all my life.
Right.
That is a good point, but he's done too much damage for me to even enjoy myself. And people have told me I hate Mark Davis with a passion, mm-hmm. but they love the colors and what they stood for. Mm-hmm. I've had people say, you know what, Def, I wasn't as involved as you are, but I just feel so disenfranchised. Mm-hmm. I've gotten different points of views, respectfully so, because people have different experiences.
Let me offer something or take you on really from out of respect, of course, but for me, I separate the baby and the bathwater. In other words, Mark Davis, when I first met Mark Davis, it was actually in Boston. Jared Bell of USA Today brought us together. out of my request. And he and I were supposed to have dinner, Mark Davis and I, but I had to catch an early flight. That was 2013. 2014, that was the NFL Spring League meeting, the same one where the 49ers were awarded the right to host the 50th Super Bowl. Next year, I ran into him quite literally in Buckhead when I was there for the NFL Spring League meeting here in Atlanta. And I went to talk to him, and Mark Bedane grabbed me by the shoulder like this. I thought he was going to try to maul me. And I said, Mark, we're virtually brothers. What are you doing? He goes, oh, yeah, you're right. And so I proceeded to talk to Mark about the past. Quote, the past, unquote. He said, I don't want to hear about that. You know, I only want to move forward and talk about the future. And he asked me who I thought he should vote for because it was a mayor's race. I gave him the ranked choice. I said Brian Parker, Libby Schaff, and Joe Tuman. I think that was the range.
And Kaplan.
I didn't put Rebecca in there because I didn't feel that Rebecca at the time was a better candidate than Libby. And Rebecca had, I'm just saying this knowing that Rebecca will see this, but Rebecca knows it. Rebecca had actively worked against Libby in a lot of ways that I thought were not right. And she could have simply handled her problems with Libby. If I may, hold on a second. She could have, because I digress. I have a T-shirt that says I digress now, right? I have a T-shirt that says I digress, yeah. All right? Rebecca did some things to Libby behind her back that, you know what, two adults can sit down in a room and talk or on a phone. She didn't need to handle it that way. And so that was it. I've got some big issues with how Libby has handled things with respect to the Raiders. That's another story. But I didn't recommend Rebecca Kaplan at the time for that reason. Rebecca, I can still consider a friend, even though Rebecca probably thinks that I haven't expressed the loyalty to her that she would like. But that's on her, not me. But I digress. My point is this. Mark Davis has put a great product on the field. And we are talking about, now the defense has its issues, but the offense is top-notch and stellar. And let me ask you this question. If the Raiders go to the Super Bowl, or excuse me, let's say that they go to the playoffs in the AFC Championship and there's a big hoopla, are you going to go to the game or not?
I'll be reading a book in my room.
Seriously. Why do I find that hard to believe? I mean, seriously.
I'll go to church. If I have to, I'll buy a one-way ticket to Guam.
He is he is Dr. Death. You go to Guam.
Here's the thing, Zenny, right? I think this is what catches people off guard, right?
I'm gonna hold you to that, by the way. I'm gonna say, Ray, are you in Guam? If they go that far. I happen to think they may not, but I'm just saying.
You know what? I think that the Raiders will probably make the wild card. Mm-hmm. Maybe win a wild card game, but then get smoked in the divisional by the Patriots or the Steelers.
Yeah.
I have not been keeping up at all. I haven't been keeping up with the Raiders, like very minimal. Because I've unfollowed everything. But I've been hiding under a rock, not watching any Raider news. Mm-hmm. And I came out right now. I have no idea what's going on. And you were to say, ask me questions about the Raiders. First thing I would ask you is, how did their last ranked defensive line in the league in sacks, how are they doing this year? Did they acquire a veteran middle linebacker? Did they bring in someone that can play outside corner where Sean Smith isn't going to get smoked or be flagged for a PI in the first play of a game? Look, I haven't watched any Raider games. I just asked a question as if I came under a rock. Mm-hmm. If you answered those questions no, and no, then a defensive-minded general manager, a defensive-minded head coach, a defensive-minded defensive coordinator that brought on, or excuse me, let me put it to you this way, okay, that was given another term, a long-winded term, if you screw up, you're going to be fired, in Ken Norton Jr. You have all these defensive-minded players, but you didn't really make that much more. Is Marshawn Lynch going to play middle linebacker? Is Derek Carr gonna rival David Amerson. People are so enamored with this offense. And let's say the Raiders got a stadium and we were in the middle of celebrating.
Right.
I would say, well, great, we got a stadium, but our defense is still bleeping putrid. And we're hoping that a nickel corner that just got his allegations dropped because he had out and he went to court and he just got them dropped. Then we're, I believe, is there a third round defensive tackle that they're hoping is gonna
Eddie Van Ross, who's already being already being ruined by the poor coaching of the staff, and I don't blame Morton for that. I blame Del Rio. Starts with the top. The technique is bad.
I don't know.
Technique's bad.
Sure, you know more than I do, but I'm talking only on Raider football that I just remember from last season. And apparently, from your reaction, you're not correcting me. You're just nodding your head. I'm pretty much on point by saying they haven't fixed jack squat, and they have a tougher schedule, and they're going to be playing in Philadelphia on Christmas.
Well, except one thing they did fix one thing, though. And that is Bill Musgrave had this experiment going on where he was installing elements of the Chip Kelly offense, along with the offense at Cal that was installed under Sonny Dykes. But here's the thing. What Musgrave was doing was what I call element football. I'll take a play from here, and I'll take a play from over there, but he doesn't understand how the plays relate because they don't, and they're from different systems. Now, under Tom Downing, what the Raiders have is a more coherent system that is more obviously based around controlling the football with a passing game, as I saw in practice. I'm not talking about what I saw in the field, because they brought in some watered-down plays. I'm quite excited over what I've seen. Now, that's the only place where I've seen improvement. However, and you know this as well as I do, offense sells tickets, defense what?
Wins football games.
Thank you. So, that's about it. I mean,
let's put this in a nutshell, right? On the surface, and I know people are going to say, yeah, but, and I get it, but on the surface, you get rid of a coordinator that brought, a top 3 ranked, top 5 ranked offense, but you keep the guy who had one of the worst defenses in the league. Granted, I was very anti-Bill Musgrave. I wanted him fired, right? I'm not going to come back on that. But just on the surface, you say, wow, this team got rid of an offensive coordinator that had top 5 offense in the league, but kept the defensive coordinator that had one of the worst defenses in the league. It's like
Now, there's a reason for that, though. From an entirely other perspective. First of all, Norton is new to defensive coordinator. Bill Musgrave is not new to being an offensive coordinator. What I mean by that, hold on a second.
Right. Yeah, I'm agreeing for sure. Right.
Jack Del Rio is minding the store. He is the puppet master over Ken Norton. Norton is there to implement what Del Rio wants. Ken Norton is not there to be the next Buddy Ryan with his own creative defense. So Ken Norton is basically in a position where he has to wear, for want of a better term, the stink of a bad scheme. And that's exactly what we're talking, and bad technique. And that's exactly what we're talking about. What Del Rio wants to do, and it's obvious from the film study and the video study, is have a pass rush that's constantly run conscious, which you would say on the surface, what's wrong with that? The problem is that if you're consistently run conscious, you're always looking here and there, and you're controlling both gaps, which is hard to do, and you got a guy that's in front of you that can bench press almost 1,000 pounds, and you might make the wrong guess. Look at the Raiders' defense and look at where the line goes. Look at very carefully. For example, there are a couple of times they'll call it a stunt, all right? And for those of you out there who don't know what a stunt is, it's where the defensive line person is here, and they're asked over the center, for example, but then they're asked to go, say, over the guard or over the tackle, and then maybe the middle linebacker fills that hole like that. Well, the Raiders were calling stunts that caused, in one case, their defensive tackle to go the wrong direction. The runner was going this way, and the stunt took the defensive tackle out of the play. And I'm thinking, why would you have a defense where you're calling stunts like that? And I know the Raiders don't game plan for preseason, right? But if you're trying to evaluate players, how are you going to understand how good a defensive tackle is if you're sending him the wrong place to go versus the point of attack. And then you would turn around and say, well, gee, you didn't make the tackle. You took him out of the play. And then you didn't game plan for it. It's that kind of nonsensical stuff that's Del Rio's fault. You see what I'm getting at? That's Del Rio's fault.
For sure. So let's bring this back to, I call it peanut butter and jelly theology, meaning, when I mean that means we have to describe it like we're teaching a first grader how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? Mm-hmm. But in football speak. Mm-hmm. You describe something complex that someone that follows football all the time, we would get it. To the common person that's like, what? Basically what you're saying is...
I'll make it really easy for you right this, okay? I'm going to say it in one sentence. Their coaching makes no sense during the preseason. I can't tell what they're trying to do because of what they do, okay?
Right. And so to take it a step further is we're having a defensive-minded head coach, which is his specialty.
Yeah.
That I can make the case the offensive play by Derek Carr and his leadership and Amari Cooper and the run game and the offensive line is overshadowing the poor play of the defense, continued from last year.
Yeah. Well, that and Khalil Mack.
All
right. Khalil Mack is so good, but it's not just that he's good. They put him in the edge position to be good. Khalil Mack made all of his plays from the edge. All right, okay? And they put him in that position. That was smart. But when I tell you, Ray Perez, I say, all right, I want you a defensive tackle, but I want you to control both gaps. The guy ahead of you bench presses 760 pounds. Oh, and then by the way, I'm not telling you, and I should be telling you, keep your pads low, Ray. Why? Because you get leverage. I should be telling you that, but I'm not telling you that. So what happens is you get lifted off the ground by the offensive line person. So who does that make look bad? It makes you look bad, right? Right?
Right.
So you understand that, okay? That's the problem. That is the problem. It's poor technique. And I know you say, there are people who don't wait and, understand complexity. I disagree. There are a lot of smart people out there. The trouble is media treats them like they're dumb. No one explains how football is supposed to go. And so we get a dumbed-down electorate of football watchers who are really smart because the media acts like they're dumb. People are not dumb. They can absorb this stuff. I refuse to accept that. People are really smart. That's why we have Zensters here, all right? Like, Bouse is here, okay? Michael is here.
Is that Boss?
Yeah, Bouse is here, all right? Rick Rice.
Bouse.
Right, and then Rick Rice asked me, he said, Zenny, how can you tell after one preseason game? Rick Rice, I will tell you how you can tell, all right? There is something that never changes from one game to the other, and it is defensive technique. What I ask you to do on defense, how I ask you to do on offense, that never changes. In 2007, when I wanted Hugh Jackson to be head coach of the Raiders, I made one on the 16th of August of 2007. I wrote a blog, 2006, excuse me, I wrote a blog post saying, fire Tom Walsh. Remember Tom Walsh? Tom Walsh was the offensive coordinator.
Didn't he have a bed and breakfast?
He certainly did. He had a bed and breakfast. All right, and Art Shell called him out back to coach, right? Tom Walsh, I said, fire him. You know why? Because he had an offensive blocking scheme that was so reliant on passing, so on retreating, that you and I could rush the passer against them. Why? Because they were basically retreating so fast. They were basically collapsing the pocket for us as defensive line people. In other words, what I'm saying to people is they were getting their quarterbacks killed. And it was preseason. So I made one post, and I said, fire Tom Walsh. Raider Nation jumped all over me. I was public enemy number 2 behind whatever that guy's name at the time was. But you know what? They fired Tom Walsh by the 8th game of the season. I was right. Okay? I was right. You don't need a whole season. You don't need a whole doggone list of games to tell what the problem is. If you know football, you can figure it out like that. Sorry.
Let me put it to you this way. A game of football doesn't... Look, I haven't even watched football yet. I walked into the bar on Saturday. I saw the Raider game was on. They hiked the ball, and I walked out. Okay? But the beginning of this monologue...
You walked into that establishment, you spent no money? Shame on you.
No. Plus, it was dead anyways.
Okay.
But I walked out, right? And I'm still going to say it. I've been hiding under a rock, haven't been watching NFL football, or any Raider football at that. And I would ask you, since last season, have they improved a defensive line that ranked dead last in the NFL in sacks? Have they brought on a veteran linebacker? Have they brought on another cornerback that rivals David Amerson that will not get burnt and be called a pass interference on the first play of the game? And by sitting by your reaction, you're not trying to jump in and say, well, yes, they have, because they haven't. And no football has been played that I've seen.
No, that's not the reason. The reason why I'm not attacking is because I firmly believe and I firmly assert that coaching matters. Like Rich Rice was saying, I was talking scheme and not technique. No, Rick Rice, I was talking technique. You came in late after I talked about the pass blocking problem of the Raiders in a very watered down way. I made another video earlier where I talked about technique. You cannot, I don't care what anybody says, okay? If you are playing bad defensive technique, you could bring in Vernon Hargreaves, who's going to have a powerful year for the Buccaneers, who ruled the SEC as a quarterback, and he would be excoriated in the Raiders' defense. I would not wish that upon anybody. I wouldn't wish anyone, any great player, to be in the Raiders' defense the way it is coached right now. There you go. Okay.
Let me ask you this question: Do you think Jack Del Rio is still employed in the next 2 years?
Yeah, I think he's still employed because Jack Del Rio, and I know Jack personally, is a smart guy. Okay, but when it comes to having that scheme that he's known for, let me put it another way, okay? Jack is a great people person. He's a great relational person. But he is not the greatest at technical football. He's not the worst. But in terms of when it comes to technical football, he's not with a Belichick or someone else. Now, the great thing about Jack Del Rio is he has grown to the point where he knows what he doesn't know. Okay? He knows what he doesn't know. That's where he's improved dramatically. And if you track Del Rio's career, whenever he has changed offensive coordinators, his team has improved the next year. That was true with Jacksonville. So there's hope from that perspective. But having said that, my issue has to do with in-game changes and adjustments in technique, and I still hold that Jack needs to improve in that area, and he hasn't yet.
Yeah, the only way I see Jack Del Rio losing a job is if he somehow goes 9-7 or 10-6 and misses the playoffs 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. That's the only way. Mm-hmm. Or he somehow goes 8-8 this year. If he goes 8-8 this year, but I don't think he will. I see him going about 10-6, limping into the playoffs. That's just my opinion. But anyways.
No, that's a great. That's why you're here, to give your opinion. Hey, I just want to say, someone asked me about the. It was a comment that I missed, but let me go back real quick and get that one, because it was. I think it's central to our talk. 1 second here. Let me go up here. Oh, Henry Flores asks Zinni and Ray, why does Jack Del Rio continue to permit this? He brought in John Pagano. Why not make a change now and demote Ken Norton Jr. to elevate?
He kind of already did.
Yeah, and not only that, here's my take on the Norton Pagano issue. It doesn't matter. Because, look, unless you're going to tell Pagano, do your own thing, it's Jack's thing. And as long as it's Jack's thing, you're going to have the same problem again and again and again. Again, there's this really anti-intellectual idea. And yeah, I did say it, because we need, in fact, I want everybody to read a book called Anti-Intellectualism in American Life by Richard Hofstadter, copyright 1946. That is my request to everybody. We need to think in this country again. Because look what's going on now. I'll get to that in a second, all right? All right, I got worked up here. Now, what do you think about that, Ray? You said he already did. I'm shutting up for a while. Oakland is home. The T-shirt says.
In terms of,
let people see your shirt, by the way. Stand up. Oakland is home.
This one,
Oakland is home. I like that. Oakland is home.
Zenni, I don't live in Oakland. Someone tweeted me earlier. with laughing, half these stay in Oakland guys aren't even from Oakland. Yeah, I understand that, but the sports, I grew up in sports, even though I'm from West Sacramento, proudly. The city of Oakland and its sports culture with the A's, Raiders, and Warriors is what attracted me to that city. So I take pride, as a good friend of mine told me, you don't choose Oakland, Oakland chooses you. And because of Oakland, even though I don't live there, what helped me craft my my college education. I currently work in Oakland, if that stands for anything.
Yeah, it stands for
because of Oakland sports, I started looking for a job at a public relations firm that has a national presence, with clients across the United States. I've placed clients as of this morning. I placed a client in the San Francisco Business Times at my job in Oakland. I worked at my job in Oakland because of my involvement in Oakland sports. So just because the city of Oakland and its zip code isn't on my driver's license doesn't mean that I can't call Oakland home. I've been involved enough with Oakland. I've attempted with many others, like yourself, to be influential and positive in regards to politics and my respective sports team.
Right. Have you thought of running for office? Because I remember in fact, I think I have a video of you on this. In fact, I do have a video. I want to call that video up just for
you
grins.
do.
Well, hold on a second, folks. We're going to have a little fun here. We're going to have a little fun with Ray Perez here. This is,
Zenny,
we gotta
I have a friend that's watching tonight.
Yeah.
Vero, she's, we had this conversation on Friday.
Oh, a she? A she? Uh-oh. What's her name? You going to get married?
No. She has two beautiful children. She has, her boyfriend watches you, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I texted her. I said, hey, make sure you tell Gabe that I'm going to be on Zenny. Cool. But it's funny you bring that up.
Is he watching now? Hello, Gabe, I think.
Yeah. What's up, Gabe? I don't know. I mean, I've always dismissed that notion, but I don't know. I think more and more, especially going through the political aspect of NFL relocation and having to get involved with other people and dealing with people with different political ideals, it's intriguing. I love challenges. And running for political office, respectfully, I would have to do it with the support around me, with the strong political will. I'm not going to discount it, but I don't know.
All right, I found the video. Are you ready to see yourself?
Yeah, and you know what? And I can tell you, I held something back from that video too. I had to hold back on my answer to you.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. The video that I'm showing goes way back though. It's not the one from Houston. It goes back.
No, I know. I'm painted up. We're at City Hall.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put it on.
It was after my speech.
Right. I'm gonna put this up on full screen so everybody can see it. And here's Dr. Death, everybody. I'm unmuting it. Here's Dr. Death. All right.
Understand that we can potentially be part of history, and that us as constituents, we can pave the way to make movements for the future of Oakland. As city council members, I want you guys to realize that what you see here behind me, we represent a combined 111 years of tradition, culture, and championships here in the East Bay. You all are aware, if we lose any of our 3 teams, all that can be gone forever. This is the night. It's do or die for our city, for who we are. It's not just a yes or no vote, it's for our livelihoods, it's for our future. It's not just a stadium or a plan, it's the solutions to our issues. And I know Oakland has its problems, 12% unemployment rate, high crime rate, but the thing is what solutions do we have to our issues? Ms. Santana, I asked you a couple months ago, what can we do to be from the 5th best place to visit in the world to be number 1? To our own teams, with our own cities that people around the world are going to want to come see us. What can we do to get out of the shadows of San Francisco? I know Mr. Reed isn't here, Mr. Reed isn't here, Ms. Schaff, here's my solution. Vote yes on this Coliseum City. Because when you do, you'll bring infrastructure, you'll bring jobs, you'll bring construction, you'll bring tax revenue to hire more police officers, to combat all your triple crime rate in the United States right now, to triple the average right now. You can combat that. We can be #1. We can bring jobs here. We can bring the Olympics. We can bring the Super Bowl. And I hope, Mr. Golf, I hope you're correct. We will play in that Super Bowl. Please give your constituents a reason to re-elect you next election. The reason why I know we can do it is because when you have great people with great community leaders, with a great team and a great owner, you tell them one thing. Just win. Just win, baby.
So that was
you had interviewed me right after that, and you had asked me would I consider running for mayor. What I wanted to tell you is no, I'm not a liar, I'm not a liar.
Are you referring to this one? Hold on a second. I think this is what you're referring to.
I've read your stuff before, and I've seen your videos.
Who's that?
I was not digging.
Oh, that's Boss. The Boss.
I have to say it though, but I'm very happy for this. It's not just about me. I'm, in my 30s. It's about my little one right here, though, man. When she gets of age, she want to go kicking and party and do all that stuff, because your 20s are the most valuable part of your life. I mean, you're creating date night with this. This is bigger than just a sports team. Also, I'm the first one to ever mention about the Olympics, because the USOC had Sacramento, San Jose, and San Francisco. They want them to throw bids. That means they want a Northern California Olympics with all these different cultures and all these people from different places. It will give such a boost to the economy. When I used to live in LA, someone told me that the 1984 Olympics basically funded LA for 2 decades. Can you imagine that happens here? Amazing. It'd be amazing though. So thanks so much for your time. And Zinni, man, you gotta write something positive now though, man. You're forced to. You're obligated, man. I'm watching you, man. I'm watching you. All right then. Dolphins fan. I think it's a good thing to happen here tonight. Yeah. I think Oakland fans, the community deserves this. It's a good thing. And you gave a good speech too. It was okay.
Done like 3 of them already in the last 14 months. So when I was putting this together, I'm like, I'm beating a dead horse. What else can I do?
Are you running for office?
I'm not. I'll keep my comments to myself. I'm too nice to myself.
You're on point. What do you guys think about it?
Because I said if I say that, then I'm misdirecting TV politicians a liar, and they're going to hate me. So I said, no, I'm not going to say it.
I came from work, got on board,
so what do you all think about the deal?
I think it's great, and it couldn't be done with people like him, without all of us who support it.
And I'm from Palo Alto.
And I'm from Sacramento. But Oakland's my second home. We can tap into this. We can be a great city. We can be we can be out of the shadows of San Francisco. They just lost their beloved Niners.
Why are they trying to take our Warriors?
Yeah. What's that?
I was saying, as far as Warriors going across the bridge, the city of Frisco, they just butthurt because the Niners going to Santa Clara or around in San Jose County. It's like, we have over here too. Like, man, sick at the shadows of Frisco. We saw on the airport.
Wow.
Terminal says San Francisco/Bay Area, but like, what about Oakland? You feel me? It's like they even close, like we're in the shadows.
You did a great speech too, bro.
I appreciate it. I just want to touch on the Warrior thing. The thing a lot of people don't realize is there's a lot of obstacles people have to clear for the Warriors to pick that particular location in San Francisco. It might be easy for them to get to San Francisco, but in a lot of people's opinion, who I trust, they're not going to get it. There's a law in San Francisco, I believe, you can't have a building taller than 3 stories on the waterfront. That's trying to change, and also just trying to build in the Bay. So it's a difficult thing. In terms of the Raiders staying, I think we feel pretty good that they're going to stay. So I guess as a city or people who advocate for the team to stay in Oakland, I think the Raiders are staying. A lot has to happen for the A's to get permission to move to San Jose, and a lot has to happen for the Warriors to get to San Jose.
Wow, this is time.
Yeah. Major League Baseball wants them at Howard Terminal, watching across from San Francisco. So it's a great thing. And I'm a fan of yours, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I was a student of Professor Tuman at San Francisco State. I've seen you through him and became aware of your blog, so I follow your blog.
I'll tell you, if you ever want a guest blog, just send me an email and you can have at it.
I appreciate it. I'm with a group called Save Oakland Sports, and we're fans and different community leaders trying
imagine that?
That's
There was
wild.
a time.
You're older than me, so yeah.
That Raiders had no idea the Raiders could possibly leave.
I'm completely blindsided. I'm just an SF student trying to do a homework assignment, and then I had no idea that at the city council that so much was at stake for the Raiders. I'm incredibly
Like you were saying.
because I've been worried shitless that
Can you believe
it was
that?
going to be.
That's crazy.
We were ahead of our time.
And this is a very important city in the East Bay. I mean, you got San Jose, you got San Francisco, and Oakland. These are the cultural centers of Northern California at the end of the day. And I don't want Oakland to lose out just because some other places might look a little fancier. This city has such potential to be developed. Like, back when my grandma was here, she lived in East Oakland.
This is another 30 for 30
place. Back in
Yeah, it
the
is.
1970s, it was one of the best prime real estate
That's a good
cities
idea.
in the whole country. Like, it attracted a lot of people. We need to turn.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna. It's almost about over there, but that's a blast from the past. In fact, folks, you wonder what year that was. That was October 16th of 2013. So
Wow.
So yeah, that was 2013, and I didn't realize. I thought, holy cow, that is the way back machine. For all practical purposes, that's the way back machine, you know. And
Wow.
and I'm mindful of our time. I know it's 9:19 right now your way, so we've got 11 minutes still. But and so let me get some more comments here and see what people have said. We've got actually quite a few of them. And Raider Flea is here, and Crawford says this culture is too important to give away. Now, before we let you out of here, I got to ask you. This has been a very strange day politically. What do you think of Donald Trump since Charlotte Saturday and today?
As a registered Republican, I'm so disappointed.
Wait, so what? You're what? You're what? Unbelievable. I would never have thought that. Nothing wrong with it. I just was shocked. Ray Perez is a registered Republican.
It's more so I don't really like voting on party name, more so like party ideals, what I feel is right. But even during the primaries, I was very, I don't want to say just disappointed, I guess. He just missed Donald Trump had so many opportunities to say, I'm going to get away from party politics. And, I'll give you an example. If you look back at Reagan in the late 80s, he specifically attacked the alt-right and flat out said, you are exactly what America does not stand for.
Right.
He was very blunt. He was very forthright. There was no question about it. Very clear, concise. There was nothing to try to decipher.
No, he
There's
didn't.
no language to decipher.
There was no alt-right at the time, but I remember that precisely. Republicans were a lot more measured. The idea then of being a conservative was being a fiscal conservative, even more so than a social conservative. But it seems like as we became more diverse, another element took over. But I'm sorry, go ahead, because I asked you the question.
Yeah, it's just I see conservatives and liberals, and I've seen what's left of the Tea Party or what has evolved from the Tea Party to whatever they are now, that they've deciphered Donald Trump's denunciation of the alt-right and the KKK, but there should be a clear-cut video without question saying that view. Mm-hmm. You have the right to think whatever you want, whether it's vile or not. But as President of the United States, you also have the right to say, we denounce you.
Right.
And as a registered, I want to say conservative, I guess I'm politically and culturally hurt that someone taking that Republican in name and
Rhino.
Yeah, it's just, I would say this.
He has done
right?
that. He has done that. He has done
Yeah, I mean,
that.
look, here's what I will say though, right? Because I do not support Trump or anything like that.
He's also also not a Christian.
Sure. Here's the thing too that I know politically. If Donald Trump were to implement Obamacare and just slap Republican on top of it, Democrats would be completely against it.
Yeah.
That's just, the environment that we're in. But putting politics aside, I'm really distraught and hurt that he just hasn't come out flat out like Ronald Reagan did at the time and said, screw party politics. Any alt-left, alt-right is not American at all. And he hasn't done that. And
see, he would say that he did that, but what bothers me as a product of a father who fought in World War II against the Nazis, as a stepson to a late stepfather who also fought in the same war against the Nazis, for anybody to come out like Richard Spencer does or anybody else and do these salutes that in Germany they would be put in jail for is horrible. They ought to be kicked in the hindquarters for that. And Trump has done nothing to say, hey, look, not only that, Ray, they do this in his name. And he doesn't say, hey, look, I don't want you guys using my name. He doesn't say that at all. And here's why I think and you know why I think he's doing all this? To shield us from this whole Russian investigation thing. I think this is the biggest cover-up in the world.
Yeah, I mean, Zenny, we're getting a little political, and I really don't want to delve into that, right? I just really want to speak on the surface,
I was just testing your chops to run for office. So far, you're doing pretty good. I got ya.
Right? Like, because I'm trying to speak about through a common man, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Tea Party, Libertarian, whatever. He hasn't come out and said, absolutely not. I completely denounce it. He didn't do it at least immediately.
Right.
So even if he were to come out now and give a 10-minute press conference and say, this is absolutely ludicrous, you have no place for this in our country, it's still, you're late. You missed that window for you to come out and specifically say, and you denounce them.
Yeah.
That really, now, here's the thing that people disagree with me on. There's one thing that I absolutely love in this country because I use it every bleeping day. That's the freedom of speech. Freedom of speech consists of everything. As long as you're not yelling fire in a movie theater and you're not breaking any rules, freedom of speech is you can say whatever you want. If you want to say, Allah Akbar, I love Christ, I hate Christ, you can do it. I don't care.
You can also say invest in Zenny. In fact, I'm going to put a tag up real quick to get people to do that. But you were saying.
So the thing, though, is through this whole thing that really gets me is I hate the fact that we're seeing the swastika march on American soil.
Yes.
But in the same breath, that's what we fought for. We fought for to have whatever we want said on American soil without having to face repercussions or jail time doing so.
That's right. That's right.
If you own
that's right.
a swastika flag and you want to burn it, I'd probably, if you allow me, I'd help you burn it. But what I don't like is when you take someone else's flag and you burn it.
Right.
You do not have the legal right to do that. You don't. Right. I'm sorry to break it to you. If you want to yell at someone in a public park that say Nazis are not welcomed here, you can do it. If you want to say I love Adolf Hitler, if you want to say that, you can do it because that's what America is about without having to face jail time.
Right. The difference, you know what, though? The difference between what you're talking about and Saturday is that those people came to Charlottesville to beat up other people.
For sure, okay.
That's
let me finish my thought.
Yeah, sure.
For sure. Absolutely. Okay. And I was talking to someone about this. Let's just say, right, let's take it back. Let's not be so dramatic. Let's say I wanted to go to a Donald Trump rally because I just want to hear him out. I'm not a Donald Trump guy. You, Zenny, you can stand there with your sign and say, I hate Donald Trump. He's a racist. Okay, great. That's your right. What you
I don't hate the man. I don't hate the man. I have issues about the race.
Well, no, but it's just an example.
Sure.
What you cannot do is you cannot take your sign and bully me and push me and not allow me to go into that rally. That's what you can't do. What those people can't do is take their cars and kill people. What they can't do is you can't steal someone else's stick or tiki torch and hurt somebody with it. You can't do that. That's vile. And I haven't really watched the news too much, but I really hope Donald Trump said that you shouldn't do that immediately, because let's be honest, the commander-in-chief sets the tone instantaneously.
Hey, I gotta ask you a question before you go, because I'm gonna take advantage of your time. Forever Oakland, are you part of Forever Oakland? Are you what? Because you got you here, you got Russ Rivera, we've got all these people. What's going on here with the support, or what's the deal?
Let me say this, okay, Zenny?
Yeah.
We have a We Stand With Oakland, and here's why it matters. We Stand With Oakland is an LLC, okay? Mm-hmm. If Joe Schmo came along and says, I have an LLC to fundraise and do whatever, what that does, under Forever Oakland, up before this potential lawsuit, what was protecting me was my freedom of speech.
Right.
Okay? I can say, I hate you, Mark Davis, don't move. I can pass out signage that say, stay in Oakland, Vegas, if you build it, we won't come. Mm-hmm. I was protected under the First Amendment right.
Right.
But now that we are entering into a lawsuit that could potentially take money away from the National Football League, if we file an injunction, if we somehow, some way stand in their way and not allow the Raiders to go to Las Vegas, the NFL could try and countersue us, but I will be standing behind a corporate veil, behind an LLC with We Stand With Oakland.
Right.
If Forever Oakland had an LLC and a 501c3, I'm behind Forever Oakland all day. Nothing against whatever.
Sure.
But We Stand With Oakland, this is to anybody. Mm-hmm. They are behind a corporate veil that if they being the NFL or the Raiders, try to sue us, they can't come after my personal assets. Mm-hmm. They can try and bankrupt We Stand With Oakland.
Mm-hmm. Unless you have business insurance. If you can get individual business insurance and do that. Just saying.
Sure. Let's say if you were to ask me, am I with
and by the way, it just costs you $33 a month.
Sure. So let's say if you're asking me, hey, are you still with Joe Schmo's Oakland? I would say, does Joe Schmo's Oakland have insurance and LLC? Are they protected just in case? Because now we're in the business of possibly interrupting a multi-billion-dollar industry. I would ask you, it depends. Does Joe Schmo's Oakland have insurance against anything? I'm not leaving anything to chance.
Well, it depends on it depends on the nature. That's a good question. I'll answer that. It depends on the nature of the suit. For example, if party A is going to court to sue party B for defamation of character, and that's based on what party B said or wrote on the internet, that case will be thrown out of court because the simple fact of the matter is that party that is being sued for what they said, okay, the person they're saying about is, if they're participating on, say, Facebook, becomes what's called a limited purpose public figure. And what that means is that the bar of malice is much higher to prove, and generally those cases are thrown out of court. So it's not so cut and dry that you're screwed. In fact, the Raiders would have to watch that, because here's the thing, all right? I've got news for you. Everybody is a limited purpose public figure today. That's the dirty little secret about suing and defamation of character. Now, however, I have the right to know what your identity is, and that was confirmed by a favorite of mine called the Skank Blogger case, which I encourage everybody to read about, from 2009. And basically, to make a long story short, one woman referred to another woman as a skank model, but she did so anonymously through a blog. The person who was called the name sued Google and made Google give up the identity of that person who was then sued. So those are the rules of the road, okay?
The thing though, right, is I'm not a legal scholar. Mm-hmm. I don't have money to get an attorney to figure all this out. Mm-hmm. The best way is, do you have an LLC? Are you protected by corporate veil? Mm-hmm. And
you're saying forever.
If Joe Schmo's Oakland wants to come out, then by all means.
Well, are you saying that Forever Oakland can be sued and they have no protection? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not a legal scholar. I don't know.
That's what you're implying. Okay.
It's a question that was asked. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. I don't know.
Okay.
It's just that when they told me that they have We Stand with Oakland
Sure.
has an LLC,
Yeah.
and they explained this is what happens when you have an LLC, then I said, well, what happens if you don't?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't say, oh, then Forever Oakland must get. That's not what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Is they just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't want to
That's
put.
what
I don't
mean.
want. Yeah.
I don't know what happens if you don't. I don't know. I'm not a legal scholar.
Okay.
But I know I told you I had to get going.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's why I was trying
I can stay a little longer, Zenny.
Oh, cool. Let's shift because I have another question for you. If you can stay a little
Yeah,
longer.
yeah, for sure. We can stay about 20 more minutes, 20, 30 more minutes.
Yeah, that's a great time. All right. First of all, I want everybody, because I know Russ was here, but Jamal asked me about my shirts. So I'm going to introduce my shirts while I got you here, because they're newly designed, and I'm really proud of them. And I'm going to take you to my new store for Zenny62. And this kind of came out as a joke between me and Godfather Grizz. And
Sure.
I thought, oh yeah, this is a great idea. Let's do this. So today, here's my Zenny62 t-shirt store. And right here, folks. And as you come up, there are 3 different kinds of shirts. It says hang tight. All right. The first one is called, it says, racism is a mental illness. And it has me gesturing. Racism is mental is $22. And if you buy the shirt, you also get shares of that amount in Zenny62 Media, which is a Georgia corporation, I might add. Now, the other shirt is, it says, hang on tight, based on my favorite saying, which I did use in talking to you, Ray, and it's this. It's the Zenny62 But I Digress t-shirt, all right? And then my classic shirt is the one Barry Lee has on his Twitter account, which is of my logo. So if you want to get any of these shirts, as Jamal Mills asked about, all you have to do is go to teespring.com, or better yet, I'm gonna put the link right here for you. So there's the link. There it is, for you to get your own Zenny62 t-shirt from Teespring, or you can go to Zenny62.com, and the t-shirts are on the right-hand side in the sidebar. You can just click it. It takes you to the store. I'm going to add cups and everything. But Godfather Grizz had this idea. Thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. Then we both kind of looked at each other and thought, oh, yeah, that's an interesting idea. So my original plan was for 10% to go to the effort. But Godfather was saying, hey, why don't you just build up your income there, which I thought was really nice. And because, this is an effort that's gotten quite a few views. And if you actually do search, it works out. So anyway, I got that little station break out of the way, and I want to get back to another question I have for you since you're texting. And the question has to do with this. First of all, how did you get in Sports Illustrated?
I didn't ask to be on it.
There's nothing wrong with it. I thought it was great, man.
I never applied. I think what it was is obviously my involvement. You played that video earlier in this broadcast from 2013. And I don't know if you can tell, but a lot of my rhetoric that I was saying in 2013 hasn't changed a bit. I think, if anything, it's expanded.
But you know what, though? I will tell you something. I'll be very blunt. I thought that you had changed because when I first met you, I thought the only Ray that I see, the only person that I see is when he puts on that face paint and then his personality comes out. And I thought, what's he like without it? And then you got older and you quite literally shed your skin. So that's how I look at it, okay? That's how I look at it.
I'll take that as a compliment.
It is a compliment. It's like, yeah, he doesn't have to wear that face paint to say anything anymore.
I think the one thing that has helped is my involvement in this, right? Being vocal, being educated, being, understanding of the dynamics, also asking questions and challenging authority, Just because the NFL said it doesn't mean that it's right. Just because the Raiders actually tried doesn't mean that they actually did. I think also utilizing my platforms, social media platforms. Let me put this to you in this perspective. There's a lot of other people who feel the same way that I do, but maybe just don't dress up. Maybe they have about 1,000 followers. But I'm one of the few people that people still make memes about me, talk trash about me, do whatever. Maybe they make it their daily routine to specifically challenge me.
Why do you think that is?
And here's why. When I say this, I don't mean this as a term of endearment to myself. I think it's because I'm a polarizing figure that has been consistent and involved. I'll give you an example, right? I don't do things by myself.
Hey, go Warriors! I'll see you. Go, one of our guys I'll see you. I'm just saying. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Go Warriors is taking on. I was just saying. I'll see you. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's because people helped me. A lot of people with ideas, monetarily, with whatever help, and I have been able to use my platform to further our agenda effectively. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Someone tweeted to me today that it was my fault that the Stay in Oakland signs made it on Madden the game.
Really? They did?
Yeah. Everybody.
That's hilarious. That's
to be
great.
honest, that wasn't really my doing.
Well, wait. Why is that? Wait. A little sanity here. Why is that a bad thing? That's great.
Because
they've been immortalized.
See, we think it's great because where are we at? We're our geographical location, right? But I've gotten people complaining, that stupid Dr. Death got those Stay in Oakland signs in Madden. Well, I didn't call them up. I didn't ask them to do it. I didn't even pay for those signs. All I did was help pass them out and use my platform, my image to stand out.
Well, wait a minute. I haven't seen this. Is your likeness in the game?
I don't think my likeness is in the game, but even if it was, there's nothing I can do about it.
What do you? Oh, wait a minute. That's contrary.
No, it says it on the ticket. I've already asked because you know what? I've been on the inside of the Madden book 2 years ago.
Wait. Being photographed as part of a telecast and having your likeness represented in a video game are two different things. You can be compensated for that, and the reason why I say that is that was a big issue with NFL players in terms of using their likeness. And I say it because you're a character. But
either way, I wasn't in the game, though.
Okay, you're sure about that, though? I'd check on that if I were you.
Yeah, I wasn't in the game. I wasn't in the game because if I was, my Twitter would be blowing up right now. I wasn't. But going back to how I made it on the cover of Sports Illustrated, I think it was just my involvement. And I did a Periscope for like 15 minutes, and I told people, I didn't make that cover of Sports Illustrated. It wasn't because of me, but it was a lot of people's help and support that really catapulted my ideas that weren't mine, but I was just able to put on my platform to further our respective agenda.
Right.
And I think people who see guys who face paint, those are guys that just get drunk and yell and go, wow. But, I was the ideal of a perfect storm. I dressed up, in Raider garb, face paint. But I was articulate. I'm a communications major, and I was involved with many meetings, council meetings.
Right.
And I went to NFL owners meetings as well. That when I went to a couple of those NFL owners meetings, by the time it was, the day that I got photographed at the game against the Denver Broncos, I had already gone to 2 NFL owners meetings already.
You went to Dallas.
So I think
you went to that was before the Dallas meeting, right, last year? Yeah.
I think so.
And you were in Phoenix, but what happened? I thought you were in Phoenix, weren't you?
I was in Phoenix, yes.
What happened? Because I didn't see you. And I was looking around for you. And I
saw you. I said hello.
Oh, that's right, you did. Yeah. That's right, what I'm talking about. Right. But then, okay. But I think what happened was that's what I'm getting at, is after the decision, did you leave town?
I left.
That's why.
I went back to my hotel. I had to leave because I'm not going to curse here, but I told Mark Bedane to go F himself, and I had to leave.
Oh God.
And the coward couldn't look me in my face. He had to look down at his feet and walk away because Mark Bedane, you're a coward.
That was a hard day for everybody. That was a difficult day. I mean, to say the least. And It's really it's sad.
Yeah, you know what's strange, Zenny? This is really strange.
Mm-hmm.
Is that people like myself, Grizz, Ray Bobbitt, Russ Rivera, you, Joe Schmoes of the world, that people who are not from Oakland and wanted to move, that we are getting scrutinized because we are fighting for what we love. Isn't that strange?
Well, here's what's even stranger, and I told some people at the NFL this today, is, I'm not going to say who, but what's stranger is if you think about it from a 1,000-foot level, what we're doing is not anti-NFL. We simply want the NFL in Oakland. The NFL should look at this very dynamic as a positive and not a negative. All we're doing is basically what any other city has done in terms of fighting to get a Super Bowl. We're aggressively trying to keep our team. We're aggressively trying to keep our event system intact. That's what we're doing. It creates jobs. It makes people happy. It brings people together. The NFL should be milking this and basically egging us on and basically trumpeting up the fact for its own good that, hey, Vegas doesn't have its act together. In fact, make it a competition, right? Give us a chance to really basically kind of take them out if we want to in a political or a financial sense, and egg on the game. It'd be great for the league because the league's not going to lose. If the league, let me put it this way, if the league doesn't go to Vegas, they're in a better market, so the league still wins, right? So what's the deal? Why are they so angry? They don't need to be. That's my point.
I'll tell you why. You want to know why?
I'm all ears.
Arrogance.
What do you mean?
Ego.
Because I'm arrogant? So? Okay,
No,
fine.
no. The NFL.
Oh.
No. The NFL. The NFL. Their ego's too big for them. You know, let's just say, right?
Okay.
Let's say tomorrow, Bank of America pulls out. Simultaneously, UNLV says no effing way. And Steve Sisolak says the people who own all this land for parking are asking triple the value for land to give you for parking and on top of infrastructure, and Mark Davis has to stay in Oakland. The only thing that's really lost in all of this is the ego by the National Football League, that this grandiose idea that they passed just fell flat on its face without really losing billions of dollars.
That's
it.
Well, that's what I mean.
Right?
I think it's actually something entirely different. I believe Jed York and a number of owners voted for this with the idea that we're going to watch and see if Mark can pull this off because he's gotten this far. We're going to give him enough rope for himself, all right? Knowing that the Raiders, at the end of the day, have rights in two areas. They don't have Vegas. They don't have Los Angeles. They have the rights in Oakland and Las Vegas. So for those people who keep saying the Raiders, including media who might be watching this right now because there's 38 people, anyone who says the Raiders have left Oakland has no idea what they're talking about. I'm going to tell you something. The Raiders will never leave Oakland until the Oakland market is claimed. The Raiders will always have this to step back into. And if they want to get out of their agreement in Las Vegas, they have a lot of avenues to do that in. However, I happen to hold that they're trying to be, that the Shell Nadelsons of the world are trying to push them out, but not in a direct sense, in an indirect sense, by simply watching them choke on all the costs around them. Yeah.
Zenny, I want to highlight something that you said that I think is overlooked.
Uh-huh.
The Raiders, logistically and factually, have too many avenues for comfort to get out of this Las Vegas deal.
Now, I know what you mean, but explain that. I mean, I know where you're going with this. Explain that.
With Stan Kroenke, he bought the land himself.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did he buy the land, he told Inglewood, I'll front you the money for infrastructure that the city usually pays, but you pay it back to me. Stan Kroenke had too much invested in Los Angeles for him to say, never mind, I want to leave the number 1, number 2 market to stay in St. Louis. To date, the only thing that Mark Davis has pledged in Las Vegas is his word-of-mouth commitment to the Governor Sandoval, whose term limit has ran out.
Right.
and his pledged money coming from other people, including, but not limited to, personal PSL holders. What
you know why I'm laughing? I don't actually think that they're going to sell out all those PSLs. I really don't.
Neither do I. I already had someone tell me from out of state that lives in the Midwest that said, you know what? I looked up the prices of the PSLs. I'm not going to be able to afford that. And if I do afford it, and I'll tell you this, Zenny, I went to training camp 2 weekends ago, interviewed everybody. For every 10 people that I interviewed, all of them either said, I'm not going to go, or if I do buy the PSL, I'm going to go to 2 to 3 games and sell the rest.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think happens if you only go to 2 to 3 games?
You wind up with StubHub on a larger scale. You know, I'm talking about that miserable site that the Chargers were presiding over when they hosted the Seahawks last Sunday. I cried over that one. That was bad for the league.
Yeah, that's just terrible football, right?
Yeah.
Like that encapsulates what the NFL and the future has become, because you know why the NFL owners don't care right now? It's because half of them are 50, 60, 70 years old. 20 years are not even going to be here. So it's wait.
I'm 55. I still care. I'm not an owner, all right? I might look like I'm 35. My last girlfriend may have been 28, but I'm 55 years old. Let's get that straight.
Okay, let me take that back. Somewhere like 70, 80 years old.
Yeah, you got to take that way back, man.
You know, like in 10 years, half these owners aren't even going to be there. So they want to be part of a time where they change the landscape of football, that they don't have to deal with the everlasting effects of what their decisions are going to make for the future. And I am by no means, I hate conspiracy theorists. I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
But you really got to look into with what's going on with CTE, the movie Concussion.
Sure.
We have a lot less kids signing up to play football, and you're disenfranchising communities, right? Like you're investing millions of dollars in other countries,
right,
but won't invest in your respective communities. Mm-hmm. And you have all this stuff adding up. What's football going to be like in 30 years? Is it going to be where Major League Soccer is ahead of football?
Yeah,
is it going to take a backseat to basketball?
I think it's going to take a back seat, and the reason why is because of the expense of the game versus the way incomes around the world in industrialized nations are being cut into because of the constant marketization of nations that previously were not large enough. I mean, for example, when I was in grad school in Berkeley from 1985 to 87, and then I was in undergraduate school from 1980 to 1985, there was something called the newly industrialized countries, the NICs, and among them was Korea and Indonesia, among others. And then prior to that was Japan. So the question today is, who are the new NICs? But the simple fact that I have to ask that question means that market economies are doing what? They're spreading around the world. What does that mean? It means that it's more likely that my product will be made somewhere else, unless a machine makes it, okay, than ever before. What does that all translate to? It consistently declining incomes per person, which means that your kid and my kid are less able to afford to play football, which, by the way, happens to be very dangerous, than the years past. That's what that means, unless it's subsidized.
And they're definitely not helping.
Oh, and by the way, Ray, you know what that was? That was a layman's presentation of systems thinking. So there you go. Systems thinking, my friend.
Right. So, and you're going back to the NFL not really investing in communities that invested in them, right? That the NFL just left wherever that quick dollar was.
Right.
And sometimes investing in that quick dollar isn't sustainable in the long run.
That's right.
And they just gave up the wealthiest, not only a wealthy, but a continuously growing market.
Right.
That has a plethora of schools and jobs that whoever's growing up here in Northern California, from Sacramento to the Bay Area, if you're 9 or 10 years old, there's a very good chance you will still be living in this area making a six-figure salary in the next 20 years.
Right.
I don't know if you can really say that respectfully to Las Vegas, because they have what? One Fortune 500 company? One?
Well, unless they make the casinos Fortune 500 companies in some sort of twist or quirky fate, which could happen. But I think you're absolutely right.
But even then, the casinos, the basis and the employment what the casinos have, it's, you have the cocktail servers. These aren't really, I don't want to speak for all, but when you think of cocktail servers and stuff like that, you're not thinking of like a career path. You don't go to school to be a cocktail server, with all due respect, right?
Well, actually, you do. Hospitality. It's and my point is, I'm not trying to undercut what you're saying, Ray. Just the opposite.
Right.
I think you're absolutely right. But what's happened is that with the minimum wage rise, someone posted the other day that restaurants are the factories of the 21st century. Think about that. So that's why I say that cocktail waitress analogy actually I think is a good one, because it makes it more likely that someone will be a cocktail waitress and go in a direction that we're talking about, all right? In fact, Henry Flores says the NFL will be like the WWF. It was once a hot commodity with a rock and stone cold Steve, but now it's just garbage. And then 831 Scott says he thinks basketball's already taking over. And if you look at the rise in franchise value for basketball, it's catching up to the NFL. But I think your cocktail waitress analogy is right on, especially with how do I say it in a way that's clean for this? I'll say it. How the entertainment, pleasure, XXX industry has become so normalized. To the point where you might go into a restaurant one day and have that element. Oh, by the way, we do have that in Las Vegas, don't we? Okay? So they double as cocktail waitresses. I mean, I'm not saying this jokingly. This is what we have come to. This is the impact of this hammering down of wages that we've experienced for the last 30-something years. And it's going to hurt the NFL. I really think.
Yeah, no, it will. And it's very sad that the NFL cannot show loyalty to communities that have shown loyalty to them.
Right. Absolutely.
And me, I was just taught that if someone isn't loyal to you after you've been loyal to them, then you can't stand for that.
No.
And and I tell people, if you can't put down alcohol, you're an alcoholic.
Right.
If you can't not gamble, you're a gambleaholic.
Right. But this is Powerade, by the way, folks.
if you can't not watch Netflix, you're addicted to Netflix. If you can't walk away from the Raiders or the National Football League under any circumstance, what does that make you?
Addicted. I mean, it's hard for me. I love football. I love the NFL. I believe the American ideal is embodied with the NFL. Now, think about what I said before you puke. What I mean by that is the NFL is always constantly striving to be that organization that represents what America should be. And I tell you how I learned this. I called Roger Goodell at the behest of the late Oakland Raiders executive assistant Aldo Casal. This was 1997. And to make a long story short, I asked, actually 1999, but I called him 96 the first time and then 99 for the Super Bowl. When I was working the Super Bowl, I called Roger and I asked him what the ideal Super Bowl setting was. And he said to me then it was the Buffalo Bills, New York Giants Super Bowl after the Gulf War with the planes flying over and the, pomp and circumstance that surrounded being an American. That was his idea. You have to understand, though, Commissioner Goodell's dad is Charles Goodell. Why is that a famous name? Because Charles Goodell, as a Republican, you may want to know this, is the only Republican in history, and will be the only Republican in history, to have ever voted against the Vietnam War. He basically was the Barbara Lee of his time. And so I say that to say that Roger, I know Roger is pained by this whole Vegas issue, not just because it's where he wants, it's different from what he wants. Not just because he's being overruled by Jerry Jones. Not just because Jerry Jones had an owners-only meeting without him. But because he understands that this is, from an entirely other perspective, almost like Sodom and Gomorrah. That it's the evil forces and the vice forces that are overtaking the NFL and possibly pushing it in a direction it doesn't want to go. And I know Roger, I know personally Roger's bothered by that. I know it.
Zenny, I want to bring up something because I do have to get going in a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah.
I want to mention We Stand With Oakland, the GoFundMe account, right?
Yeah.
GoFundMe.com/We Stand With Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
But here's why I want people to contribute $5. If it's $5, then $5 is a lot, right? Here's why. You alluded to it earlier. There are too many opportunities for Mark Davis and the National Football League to take an avenue out of this Las Vegas deal. I'm not guaranteeing that they will. I'm not. But there's too many opportunities that if we as a coalition of fans, in conjunction with the community and the municipalities, if we come together on our own plight and we're able to raise money. Imagine if the headlines that read, Oakland community raises $20,000 in a GoFundMe account.
Mm-hmm.
We have a private investment group that comes on and says, we'll fund a potential lawsuit. We say that Mark Davis gave exclusive negotiating rights to another city when he couldn't, and we can prove that in the court of law. And the A's announced that they're going to build off the Coliseum property. You have so many positive things going on with us that if we can take that momentum and the NFL sees all this debt that's taking on, with the parking, is it going to be private? Is it going to be private owners? Is it going to be UNLV? Infrastructure costs, the buying of the land and, infrastructure for the parking garages, the over $1 billion in possible debt that the Raiders can take on in infrastructure costs. SB1 specifically says only an adequate amount of infrastructure does the development team have to take on. SB1 does not say that the development team has to take on an exact amount.
No, it says, but you know what the total amount is. It also mentions NDOT. It says that the amount has to be determined by the Nevada Department of Transportation. Do you know what that amount is?
No, what is that?
It's $900 million. Do you know how
so
much?
If it exceeds that,
do you know how much an interchange costs? One interchange costs along those, because the NDOT report calls for 3 interchanges. Guess what one costs?
I have no idea.
$200 million. Then
how much?
$200 million. One. Just one. Now, do you know what it costs to extend the monorail 1 mile? $100 million. Do you know what it costs for the Raiders to get 14,000 parking spaces on one property there, given the current market value of land? $195 million for 67 acres. It's easy math to figure out based on the land sale that was just done.
So it would be exceeding the $900 million.
It would be there. The Raiders' portion is still, by my calculation, on track to about, right now it's on track to top $600 million. Here's the reason why. And we're going to find out tomorrow more. Tomorrow's Wednesday. On Wednesday, Clark County Board takes up the planning department presentation that was given to the Paradise Valley Town Board last week, Tuesday. They're going to approve it, but here's the deal. Las Vegas Review-Journal screwed up the report. That was a terribly written article because they didn't understand planning. And that's why I encourage people to weed into the woods with media rather than not. There are 24 different stipulations, not 4, not 3, 24. And not only that, of those stipulations, it essentially passes onto 4 other organizations more review rights, okay? What do review rights equal? They equal more money that the Raiders have to spend. The Raiders are already being asked to buy the land, which they did do, but then turn it over, which hasn't been done yet, to Las Vegas Stadium Authority. If they don't do that, they cannot float the bond issue for construction for $750 million. That's not the Bank of America side. Okay?
So in essence, the Raiders could be taking on costs of infrastructure that exceed the $900 million it's stipulated
right
in
now,
SB1 bill.
according to the spreadsheet update that I made yesterday, but I haven't published yet, the Raiders are $335 million in the hole. That's where it stands.
So let me bring this back.
Sure.
I was mentioning what we
by the way, I want
to
to say one thing too. Okay, love Russ, love you guys. But when Russ comes on, he never encourages anybody to invest in this channel, and yet I've done more from a video standpoint to help promote this. And I know people that talk about behind my back my requests for funding. I can't do this by myself. Anybody who has a problem with me about that, I want them to be man enough to talk to me about it. As far as I'm concerned, if you're going to talk to me about me behind my back like that, you're not a man or an adult. I have to run this. This is what I do. This is my company. I have 96 blogs. I have 300 Twitter accounts. They're all networked. You show me somebody else that can do that when they put one video out about what this organization does. Plus, I built them a website. Do you know what Russ's response was? Well, that's kind of okay. I built a website. But that can be used. All right? I hope you're tweeting or texting this, okay? Because I have a burn about that. And see, I'm very plain spoken. The same thing that I say to anybody, I say to somebody else. I don't sugarcoat. I don't like being disrespected for the effort that I take, and then when I turn around, I ask for, support. Someone, instead of they say, yeah, Zitty, but they turn around behind my back or laugh at me and say something in a snide remark. No, be a man. You have an issue with me, not you. Say it to my face. Because then I'll say, you know what? I won't host you guys, or I'll take down the website that I built for you guys if you don't appreciate it. Because sometimes I do get that impression, and I'm telling you, I'm tired of it. I'm straight up tired of it.
No, I apologize. I mean, I don't know what to say.
I said to everybody, litigation finance and their finance is the way to go. I put them in touch with the organization that could do it. They've been in constant contact with each other. That means that next JPA meeting, there may be a situation where they walk in and say, we've got $5 million in backing. Okay? They can do a lot more than limp along on $7,000 in donations and everything else when you need $3 million to run this. Litigation finance is not something that is my idea pie in the sky. It's a new industry. But there are companies that will invest in your lawsuit. They did it with Steven Donziger against Chevron in Ecuador. The guy wrangled $20 billion out of it, had no business doing that. So my point is this. We all have to help each other. I want to see everybody succeed here. But I would also appreciate it. Like, one thing I like about Godfather is that Godfather expresses that, okay? But there are certain people who talk about me behind my back, and that's cool. Everybody talks to me. I've gotten death threats and everything else. But if you got an issue with me, call me and talk about it. Okay? Yeah. Yes, I am mad. Russ says, whoa, you mad, Zinni? Yeah, I am mad. I am. Because I do a lot to keep this going, and my impression is that it's not fully appreciated. And I'm just laying that out there. All right? I have 35,000 YouTube subscribers. 35,000. Right now, nobody matches that. And it's growing. I have 168,000 Twitter followers on one of my channels alone. In Las Vegas, every single major hotel follows my Las Vegas media Twitter account, which is one of the oldest Twitter accounts in Las Vegas. Bet you didn't know that. Bet you didn't know that. I have a powerful media apparatus. Stop not taking it seriously. I'm saying this in general. Sorry, Ray, I didn't mean to encroach on your time. But something when you said in there, it struck a chord. Okay? It really did.
Yeah, for the record, I don't know. I can't speak for anybody or anything. That's all Zenny.
It's all me. It's all me. It's all me.
No, I mean, I don't want to involve myself in other people's business, but I feel, but really just want to get, like you said, just get people involved,
Yeah,
and get behind it.
Right. And that's why, I wanted you, I had Russ on the talk, Godfather, I want all us to be one family. But a family means we support each other, not one person or the other. And some of the, the differences are small. And I think the other reason I'm coming off this way, I don't want to say the name, this has nothing to do with anybody that you know specifically, but I did help one person get visible. This person had a terrific idea for planning a facility. I gave that person video time. They brought along a person who was supposedly a developer. But get this, Ray. That person has no track record as a developer and may very well be an FBI informant. I have no fear about that. But then when it comes to my, needing assistance in terms of my radar idea that Mark Davis asked me to do, this person came out of a completely different bag on me. And I helped this person a lot of ways. So we had this argument tonight. So I'm at the back of my mind, that's at the back of my mind, along with everything else. And so I'm kind of like, when you said that, it touched off something I really had to get off my chest. Because I really did work hard. I have a situation right now where I could line up 50 people with the right funding around the world, and we create the CNN of the 21st century with minimal income. Minimal. That's what I built. But see, my impression, if somebody African-American does it, it's like, oh, it's that gimmick he has. But if it's somebody white that does it, it's like, oh, he's got this great system. I'm sick of that. And see, then people don't get it until in general, if I happen to post something bad about their organization, then they see it. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't know he could do that. Wake the frick up.
Well, hey, I'm glad I'm not on your bad side.
No, you're not. You never have been. You and I have always been able to talk about things straight up. No, not at all.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
You're right. We all need to work together, and my whole cause is, and I bringing this back really quick because I know I really have to get going.
You got it.
I think one of the reasons too why people have even hinted at me maybe running for public office is using people around me and using the help to galvanize for a cause that helps all of us.
Right.
And I think I've had the privilege to, I don't like saying I've led this, but I've been able to use a platform to bring other people to lead in a polarizing topic. Just so happens I have a mouthpiece. I'm eye candy per se, and I'm able to just bloviate on something that we're passionate about. But it's really about galvanizing and empowering people to get behind something that is the unthinkable, the home of the underdogs. And that's what we're basically doing, and just asking people to, let's get involved and get behind what we're doing.
Oh, and by the way, Russ, that's wrong. A litigation finance company is going to be used. So please don't put that out there. All right? I just want to say that. Because I saw Russ's comment come out. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
No, just like I said, just because things aren't happening politically right now, on the surface, there's a lot of things going on right now. I'm not going to get into it. It's not really my place. But, there's just too many avenues readily available for the NFL to, swallow their ego and say, yeah, we need to get out of this Las Vegas thing.
Mm-hmm.
At this moment in time. Could it change 12 hours from now? Yeah, sure. Absolutely it can. I'll be the first one to tell you. It can change in 12 hours. But the fact that a multi-billion-dollar decision has been conditionally approved and there's still avenues readily available, and Mark Davis hasn't invested into Las Vegas like Kroenke did in Inglewood, that's got to make people in Las Vegas a little bit uncomfortable.
Yep, completely.
Just a little bit, right? I'm not here to give a bold perspective and be like, oh, it's going to fall through no matter what. No, I'm not. Just too many avenues readily available for the NFL and Mark Davis to say, nah, I'm out.
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, by the way, I'll only say, Mr. Rivera, you're wrong. That's all I'll say. But anyway, and something else I want to remark about Vegas is this, that the main issue is if a law challenge is filed, it stops everything. And it stops everything because potential sponsors would ask anybody connected with a Vegas project, hey, what about this legal challenge? And maybe I should hold back my investment, until you work that out. That delay will be dangerous. And not only that, Ray, there's 2 deadlines, right?
I do know that there's 2 deadlines, but I'm not going to pretend like I know the exact deadline.
I'll tell you what they are. First one is October 1st. If the Raiders want to achieve NFL 2020 mark. If they don't do that, the final deadline where everything runs out until
But is that 2017 or 2018?
October 1st, 2017 is the
Right,
paperwork deadline. If the Raiders want to achieve an eventual construction start that leads to an opening for NFL season 2020. Now, the other deadline is May 16th, 2018. If all agreements and documents are not done by that point, okay, the project, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, goes away, and the University of Nevada, Las Vegas is allowed to petition the governor's office and say, hey, we want to take over the project, to which the governor's office and Clark County Board would put into motion, as well as the UNLV Board of Regents, something called the Campus Improvement District to basically take over the plan. The hotel tax goes down to 0.5%, and they move along. But the Raiders will be gone.
And so I'm going to contend this, and I want to, for those listening, this is only my point of view. If Zenny shares it, he'll say it. Just the fact that that is still an opportunity, that let me read this to you, okay? This is something different from the UNLV. Clark County Commissioners are expected to vote next week whether to allow the project to continue while approval is all but certain.
That's wrong.
The county's...
The way they reported that is wrong. I mean, they just really screwed that pooch. Sorry.
County staff has requested several stipulations be incorporated.
Right.
Chief among them, that a deconstruction plan be in place if the stadium project stops. That close to 14,000 off-site parking spaces be ready within 1 year, and that a forthcoming contract requires infrastructure upgrades wholly necessitated by the stadium to be provided by the Raiders.
Except the problem is that that's Clark County, and the overriding fact is if UNLV petitions the state, you have to remember something. Nevada's governed under something called Dillon's Rule. The legislature overrules anything the county might do. Dillon's Rule simply means that the legislature sets the taxes and much of the laws for all of the counties in the state. That's different from California. We're used to home rule. We're used to counties and cities making their own tax rates and everything else, with the exception of Prop 13, right? Okay? That's not Dillon's Rule. That's home rule. Nevada has Dillon's Rule. What does that have to do with what we're talking about? Simple.
I've heard this.
The state can simply say, hey, look, they are petitioning to take over this project in accordance with Senate Bill 1. Okay? End game. So Clark County's little thing about deconstruction kind of goes bye-bye. Not only that, that's only one. The reporter cherry-picked the conditions. That's only one of 24. What they should have done is list all, and I'll do it. I put out the actual report on Scribd, but I will list all 24 of them tomorrow, and so that you can see them for yourself, because nobody else has done it. I had it on the actual report, which is, I might add, the Clark County Planning Department director was kind enough to directly give me. We had a great conversation. We're both planning people. But the simple fact of the matter is there are a number of huge issues that aren't even done with us. Among them that we haven't even talked about, except me, is water. Nobody can tell me what the water use is going to be, the water runoff, and the doggone thing is in the middle of a flood zone. Talking about the Russell Road and I-15 property, okay? So it's, you know, it's a fun mess. It's a fun, fine mess of a project. It really is.
It is a mess, but it's still a little thorn in the side of Las Vegas where they think, it's no big deal. But that thorn can possibly get bigger and bigger. And like I said, I'm going to go back again. Just the fact that there's avenues for NFL and the Raiders to back out of this deal, you got to help but wonder, what if crazier things have happened? And I think that's why we're trying to tell people, get behind us, because, you know, we can possibly, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but there's a really feasible chance we can come out victorious on our side. It's just possible.
Oh no, I think
not guaranteeing anything.
I think that's
not
why
guaranteeing anything.
That's why I was getting so worked up about this whole matter. Not worked up. Money will buy you a victory. And what I'm trying to explain to Russ and everybody else, and I've said it before, if you walk into the JPA meeting and say that we've got $5 billion of our own money based on this investor to invest in it, in that in and of itself will cause the JPA and the city and county to fall in line as supporters as far as having and this is where I think some people have gotten it major league wrong. All right, you can file a petition for something called joinder of parties. What does that mean? Let's say that you and I have a beef with person X, right? We can join as one in a party. It doesn't mean as an exchange of money. It's document based. So the city of Oakland and the county of Alameda can have a joinder of parties with Forever Oakland, and we stand with Oakland. We stand with Oakland has litigation finance. Forever Oakland has the same thing, and has it because it's supposed to be one organization. All right, they really are. If they're not, there's a problem. Okay, it has to be cleared up. But they have that, and next thing you know, all the parties are one. City of Oakland, County of Alameda, Oakland fans. That's what you want, with $5 million to pay the lawyers, and not only that, through a company like Legalist. All right, that's the way it's done. You don't go around, passing the hat to people, trying to get $5 here, no offense, or $100 here for something that's going to cost you $3 million. When you got companies out there that'll invest $10 million.
I think, Zenny, and I get what you're saying, and I want people to know, don't think for 1 second that this whole GoFundMe account is supposed to fund the whole thing. That is, well, one, we have a certified public accountant to prove that this isn't going in our pockets. That's not happening. Mm-hmm. And two, it's in a way we want people to feel involved, that if they gave their money and we got it to a certain threshold, 8, 9, 10, 12,000, and we grew it, and we said that contributed to a marketing campaign, that contributed to a CPA, you are involved communally, because there's different tiers. The community is involved. We got these things called, I don't know if I'm using this correct, white whales? Then we have the community and we have the businesses involved.
Sure.
Then we got what you're saying, all these elements coming together for a brand. Can you think of any other brand that people in the community all over the world would fight to have? I can't think of any other brand.
My only point is that it's really not a good idea to put out there, one side is, we're going to use litigation finance, the other side was we're not. Don't say you're not going to you're going to chase away millions of dollars because I came up with the idea. If you're saying it because psychologically I came up with the idea, hey, you know what? That's really not a good thing to do. It's not a good thing to do. I'm not 55 years old for nothing.
Hey, is that what that 62 is? Is that your birthday?
Finally, yes. Duh. I am this. I Zenny 62 proudly because do you know what year the personal computer term was created?
Oh, I don't know.
1962.
62?
Yeah. The book The Silent Spring, which launched the environmental movement, was released in 1962. The Rolling Stones had their first concert released in 1962. I can go on and on and on. Much of modern pop culture was formed the year I was born. And so I'm Zenny 62 because I have a unique span of time. I was born 2 years before the passage of the Civil Rights Amendment. 1964.
Hey, Zenny, I totally don't mean to cut you off. If you want to give maybe a 2 to 3 minute time, if you want to do an AMA, ask me anything before I get going.
Here
Getting
goes.
ready for,
All right.
for work.
All right. What is your prediction, since everybody likes predictions? Give me your prediction regarding the Raiders about what happens this year. Open-ended. There's your AMA.
What? On the field? Football?
On or off?
Oh, on the field, they don't have the depth to chase a Super Bowl. I still don't think that E.J. Manuel or Connor Cook has the audacity and the tenacity to take over for Derek Carr in a gladiator sport for 3 to 4 games and keep them in the division lead against the Chiefs. What I think is they'll flirt with 10-6, limp into the wild card, maybe win a wild card, maybe, but lose in the divisional. That's what I think will happen. They'll have a 25th ranked defense, top 15th ranked offense. Donald Penn back yet?
No.
I will say they have enough depth if, God forbid, Marshawn Lynch goes down, or the Pocket Rocket goes down, one of their offensive linemen goes down, but they don't have the depth for anybody on their defense to be out. I mean, they have a suspect defense anyways. They're facing a tougher schedule, playing in Philadelphia on Christmas, which could potentially make or break their playoff. Here's another thing. The Chiefs have something the Raiders don't, and that's playoff experience.
Right.
With a veteran quarterback, Captain Checkdown.
The Captain Checkdown. I like that. Hey, there's a T-shirt for you. Captain Checkdown.
I do honestly think that if we as a coalition of fans and or the city of Oakland gain legitimate progress politically in a potential lawsuit like the city of St. Louis did, and the Raiders, let's say they lose 2 to 3 games unexpectedly, I think their popularity and the smell of winning, the moment they lose, and the culmination of events, people are going to be like, screw that, don't come to Vegas. Because when you lose, the worst comes out in Raider Nation. You want to know why I know this? And I'm not saying you.
Sure.
I'm speaking to other people. I've lived it. 14 seasons being in those stands. I know what Raider fans say during the ugliest of times. When the Raiders suck, they want the world to burn. And so if the Raiders lose and the prospect of trying to get things going on in Vegas is a hurdle, man, that can spell ugly times possibly. But I'm going to go 10-6. And I'm going to go 10-6. They limp into the wild card. And the Raiders miss a milestone and people start sweating about a potential move to Las Vegas. I don't think it'll be something overly dramatic, but that's just me.
Well, for this segment, that'll be the last round. I'm going to stick around, Ray.
Okay.
But love to have you have your own live stream on. I'll split the revenue with you, and there I said it in a way that's recorded.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I want to be forthright here, because I've had people ask me. It's nothing personal if I say, I I kindly reject. It's nothing personal to you or anybody.
No, but you should be everywhere. No, here, all you should say. Look, be everywhere. You've got this one company that's interviewing you, fine, right? Like, for example, I've been on CNN Live, been on locally, I don't know how many times, Channel 7, Channel 2, whatever. Be everywhere. What you have
for sure.
What you have to concentrate on is making. Well, the question I ask of you is, do you want to make yourself a media brand? Because it sounds like you're not sure about it.
No, you know what? I do, but I'll be honest, and I've told my friends ever since the relocation move and investing my time in all of this, as a human being, as a man, I'm still slowly piecing my soul together, if that makes sense, because I put everything into this movement, and I'm just it took a friend of mine gave me a ticket to go to training camp, and he asked me 2 months ago, will you go to training camp? And I said, you're out of your mind. I am not going there. It took that individual 4 days going up to training camp for me to finally change my mind. I don't want to watch the Raiders, and I didn't watch them. So
see, here's my point, though. I'm not talking about just the Raiders. I'm talking about recognizing something that I recognize. I'll give you by comparison real quick. When I left the mayor's office because LU wasn't mayor anymore, I thought, okay, that's it. I'm not going to be quoted in the paper, and I thought, I'm going to lose that platform. I'm just being candid about how people think they're going to lose a platform, right? I'm not talking about that was your issue. I'm not saying that at all. But then I realized that didn't happen. I created a game around the Oakland Athletics. The Tribune wrote about it because they were familiar with me. I started, and I basically maintained a media presence by the dint of my personality. My point is that your personality will take you everywhere you can go, and that's going to happen. What you have to determine for yourself is what direction. You can be any character. You can be the next Doctor something or other, but it's Ray Perez that created this. Ray Perez doesn't go away with Dr. Death.
No, you're totally right, and I think you hit it on the nail. What direction do I want to go in?
Yeah.
Exactly. No, totally, you hit it on the nail.
But you have a powerful personality, and you take that wherever you go. It's not going to go away.
No, totally.
At least
and as a matter of fact, like I was saying, I was talking to two of my best friends that I grew up with, and they are always there to, to help for life guidance, per se, right? And one of the things that I caught myself saying, and I hadn't said it, is I want to make a difference, but I don't want to be cliche about that, right? Obviously the work that I've done with people has shown that in a leadership position, I've been able to galvanize people of all points of view. I got news for you. Zenny. A lot of my rhetoric in the city of Oakland, an ultra-progressive liberal city, I've used a lot of conservative rhetoric and been applauded for it.
Oh, I know.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
People who are very progressive liberal and I said, do you have any idea what you're applauding me for? But the fact that I have been able to get people respectfully, people who hate me, people who like me, I said, maybe I can, and see, when I think of public office, I don't think, what can I do? That's not what I think. I think of, man, imagine all the people I can bring onto my cabinet that can help me do something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I think.
Yeah.
I think, if I do public office, how many individuals can I bring on my staff that I can actually make a difference? And not having to do with sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I can bring someone, they're Republican, they're Democrat, and they're Libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
We can actually do something. But I'm trying to figure out my direction. I'm just being very much honest.
Yeah.
In the same breath, I love broadcasting. So my direction, I'm looking at public office. It looks intriguing. Look what I have been able to do, but then I love broadcasting. I want to, I've thought about getting into TV, the news.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in public relations right now. So I'm in what you call a good problem to have. And you hit it on the nail. As an adult male graduated from college, just trying to figure out my direction, and just the fact that you're asking me to come on your platform, I appreciate that, very much do. And again, I was like,
hey, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me, man. I really do appreciate it, and it's helping me. Just the fact that you're inviting me lets me know that I actually have something to utilize. That's worth it.
Yeah.
But I want to emphasize this as well. There's many people out there that's watching that are unsung. I don't want to say heroes, unsung helpers. Mm-hmm. That have helped me along the way to help me get here,
Right. No, I think, and that's why I say that, your personality will take you wherever you want to go. It's Dr. Death was just one incarnation.
Yeah.
You can
totally, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
and I appreciate everybody's support.
Yeah. And you can.
Yeah.
Not reinvent yourself, but you can pick your other avenue, and you're not going to lose anything. You'll be surprised. You'll just grow.
Yeah, no, you're like the third or fourth person to say something like that to me, and I think that's really, I think that's why the idea that's festered hasn't gone away, because what you just said, you're not the first person to say it, so it's like a little thorn in my side that won't go away, that keeps my brain going. Does that make sense, I guess?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Completely make
it.
Yeah.
But Zenny, thanks again so much.
You got it, man. Definitely.
Thank you, everybody, for having me on and listening. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Death. We'll see you, man.
Thanks.
You got it. All right, folks, that was Dr. Death. It's always great to have him around on when I can have him on. And that was that one time when, you know, because I'm able to have him on. And what's going on here now is I was trying to take this and get it off of that thing, but I'm going to just take this like that and turn it over like this, yeah, and then put it up here. And let's see, trade some notes. So basically, and catch up because I know there's 39 of you on. Again, I want to thank Dr. Death for his participation. Raymond Perez, a very good guy, powerful personality. That's what I'm saying. It's the power of personality. Power of personality. And let's see, where are we here? And so FTX says, I gave both the NFL and Raiders a second chance when they came back from LA. Will not follow if they actually follow through on Vegas. And you know what, I want to emphasize something about this whole financing thing. What I'm saying is that we all have to recognize all of our tools, and there is a bit too much emphasis placed on, well, I have control, or I have control, or I have control. I'm telling you, as a person who's been through this before, that's a sure way to lose. It really is. If you're more concerned about control than resources, you will always lose. I've seen it happen time and 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 time again. Got it? Always. So when a person gives you great advice, don't shut it down. Especially if they're older than you are. Especially if they've achieved some things in life that cause them to deal with the people that you are working with right now. That's called tapping into experience. And what I'm criticizing is when you don't do that, basically all the stuff that I've been through and I see unfolding and I'm giving you warnings about, if you don't heed it, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. Just saying. I know Oakland like the back of my hand. I know how politics works. I know how it's evolved. And I know its problems. And I know basically what makes the politicos tick. So, and then I also know something else too. It's an election year. So election season's already started. Okay. So tomorrow, which is today, we have a gigantic day. And that gigantic day is Las Vegas Stadium Authority. Well, hey, Ruben, nice to see you. Let me get through a lot of your comments, because you guys have done a great job of listening, hey, Barry Lee, to Ray and I, but now I want to read your comments as I've been gone. And we have had Big Eightful says, this is going to be different than 1980, Big Eightful says. Al won, Mark ain't Al. Oakland will win this time for good this time. Woodman Ortiz says, Zenny, what did I miss on tonight's show? And Jose Rubio says, hey, Zenny. Hey, how are you? What you missed was my great conversation with Raymond Perez, popularly known as Dr. Death, who I originally interviewed in 2013 at the Oakland City Council meeting when the exclusive negotiating agreement was approved. And I met him. I met Boss, your ruler, Boss Man, Chris Fry Lopez, number of other people who I had the pleasure of interviewing and getting to know, who I know to this day, and it's 2017. Wow, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17. 5 years. Basically half the decade. Well, half of what would be a decade, not the decade. We've all known each other in this, in that group, in this quest to keep the, not just the Raiders, but sports in Oakland. And then prior to that, in 2009, I was on Ron Dellum's Stadium Task Force. Well, excuse me, it was called the Sports Entertainment Task Force. Then I quit because I learned that, at first I thought that we were to come up with the concept for a baseball stadium and upgraded complex for the all sports teams, the Oakland Coliseum. We started with the A's. But what I learned was that
a good person and a great person, Doug Boxer, went to Ron Dellums, the mayor of Oakland then, and he had his own sports or Major League Baseball land task force. And then the Chamber of Commerce had its own task force. And then there was another one. So there were basically 4 different groups. And this is typical in Oakland, that never talked to each other. And I was so incensed with what I felt was our diminished role, given the amount of time we were spending. I jumped out. Do you want to know how influential we were? Of all of those groups, we were the only other one that had the concept for retail at the A's. We were the only one that did at the Coliseum. Frank Dobson and the late Frank Dobson, architect, Bob Lesty, who I've known for a long, long time. In fact, Bob Lesty is a famous person in Oakland real estate history. He owned the MacArthur Broadway Center, shopping center. I went to high school with his daughter. That's how incestuous Oakland is, okay? Then there was Steve Lowe, who I still know to this day, one of the unofficial mayors of West Oakland, who always had these great development ideas. If you go to my YouTube channel, we're here right now, but type Coliseum, Oakland Coliseum origin, that video, you'll see a guy in a black sweater, white with silver hair. That's Bob Lesty, real estate guy, introducing the concept. A 30-minute video everybody needs to watch, because then you'll understand the origin of what became Coliseum City. So, point is, there have been a lot of people who've been at this for a long time. You need to talk to them, tap into them, make sure that it's all hands on deck. And the reason is that there's always some group in Oakland. It's like you do one thing, but you're not talking to the other person who's not doing this other, or you're doing this thing, and the other person's doing it this way, but you're not doing it that way, you're doing it this way. I'm telling you, whenever I see that in Oakland, the effort loses. It happens all the time. All the time. Hey, Joseph, how you doing? And we have, I'm reading down, I'm looking down here. We have, so he says, thanks for the knowledge, just dropped $10. Hey, thank you. And what do you think about the infrastructure contract Clark County is requesting? How long do you think that would take? That is an excellent question. What is being referred to is, first of all, it's kind of a twofer there. There's 2 infrastructure concerns, as I said the other night. There's off-site transportation here, and then there's off-site non-transportation here. What is that? It is that off-site transportation is covered in Senate Bill 1. And this is where, as Raymond Paris and I, Dr. Death and I were talking about, that is where it says the Raiders, as developer, have to pay an, quote, adequate, unquote, amount of the total infrastructure costs for off-site transportation. That bill, according to the Nevada Department of Transportation, is $900 million. But then there's the Clark County portion, and that's as dictated by Clark County Code, which says that, first of all, you, as in this case the stadium developer and owner, and here's where it gets tricky, so pay attention, right? Because this is something that I think is, I'm guarantee you, this came up behind the scenes. It really did, okay? I guarantee you. Now, what was said is that the Senate Bill 1 does not deal with off-site non-transportation costs, only transportation. What are non-transportation costs? Sidewalks, street lights, and so on. Fixing the, that's what I mean. What SB 1, or more specifically, the Southern Nevada Tourism and Improvement Act deals with are such things as new interchange, high occupancy vehicle, roadway, and other alterations and additions called for by the state's Nevada Department of Transportation. That's there. But that's the Nevada Department of Transportation. Now, Kimmy Horn came along a local consultancy in transportation, and focused on off-site, when I say transportation, I mean streets and roads. I don't mean highways. I mean non-transportation needs, such as streetlights to light and a sidewalk. So guess what? If there's no sidewalk, you need to build a sidewalk and the lights. All of that will not extend the time frame, but it will extend the cost. So you've got two costs that basically didn't, one of which existed before but wasn't completely understood in terms of the law, and that's the NDOT imposed SB1 noted costs for off-site transportation infrastructure. Again, interchange, high occupancy vehicle lanes, and so on. That's off-site. What's an on-site infrastructure addition? A pedestrian bridge, okay? Now, because it hits into the site. Now, the new part, not governed by SB1, but called for by Clark County Code, points to all of the additions of sidewalks and light standards and street adjustments. The streets are under the control of Clark County. The roads, the state. You see the difference? It's this cost and its parking element that's proving to be a heck of a bugaboo. Because, and here's why I say that. And it's not, all right? So here's the thing, all right? So here's the thing, okay? So here's the thing. Oh yeah, I'll clear up the confusion between me and Russ in a second, all right? Here's the thing. Rick Rice, sorry about that. I just wanted to explain this other thing. Then I'll get to the financing. Because I like Russ, so but I need to get that out of the way. Here's the thing. What happened is that, as some of you pointed out to me, I think one who's not here, but you remember this, the Las Vegas Review-Journal mentioned in an article a sale of land that cost $2.9 million per acre near the Raider property. Remember that? The investors, as they were murkily referred to, right? Well, guess what, folks? Let's do a little math in our heads. Of course, I really didn't do this in my head. I'm not that quick. I did it on paper. Then I made a spreadsheet. Let's do a little math. Average parking lot is 210 square feet. Okay? 210 square feet times 14,000 parking lots gives you the total acreage. Then you take that total acreage that's needed and you divide it, the total square feet, okay? So again, 210 square feet times 14,000 spaces, that gives you the total square feet that's needed. The question is, how much is that in terms of acreage? So you take 43,560 square feet, which is 1 acre, divide this by that, you get 67, actually 67.2. Let's just say 67. You take that 67 and you multiply it by 2.9 million per acre, because you have 67 acres. What does that give you? It gives you approximately $195 million. That is what the Raiders are staring at. And I don't care if they subdivide it or whatever. And here's the bigger problem. That's right now. But the more land speculation that goes on, the higher the price per acre. Right now it's at 2.9 million. And it's going up. That's on the Raiders. That's on the Raiders. Okay? Hey, good night. Well, yeah. So basically, as far as Russ and the GoFundMe account, that's a nonprofit account. I have no control over that. All I have said, and I've said this to the group, is that, and I've said this from day one, litigation finance will really help, and it will stop this passing of the hat. Because the JP, and the reason for my comment was I don't want to see them get hurt the way that I've been hurt by the city of Oakland, the county of Alameda. For example, I walked in, this was This was October 19th of 2000. Walked into the Media Joint Powers Authority thinking I had the votes for my Super Bowl plan and for the contract that would have been between my Oakland Alameda County Sports Commission and the National Football League for the NFL to use the stadium and the arena for their Super Bowl bid, right? Had that all lined up, and the JPA voted to take an action of no action. And Larry Reed, who was the chair of my Oakland Alameda County Sports Commission, was the swing vote and abstained. And yet he's the chair of, and I made him the chair. So I felt like a fool. That was in 2000. 1996, I came up with a concept to extend our redevelopment project areas in such a way that we would have $4 billion in additional funding capacity for redevelopment projects. At the time, we were looking at going broke. I thought I had at least the committee to understand it and the votes lined up. The city attorney's office said in our meetings, we had 2 of them, that Zinni had found a true loophole and there was no case history. What that means is that there's nothing that says, hey, by the way, if you get a legal challenge, this is what's going to happen, you're going to lose or win. There was no case history. There was nothing that said it couldn't be done. And yet, when it came to the hearing, they blindsided me with this argument about, well, we're not sure. After saying, we're not sure it can work. Well, in the meetings with me and others, you said it can work, and Zinni found a complete loophole. But they didn't want to give, they wanted to basically, and this is Donnell Choi who did this. And I was really, that changed my relationship with Donnell. I was massively disappointed in what he did. Okay? And then Oakland Council member, then Oakland District 4 Council member Dick Spies, who I love, okay? But Dick blindsided me with a weird argument saying, well, gee, that's going to give us too much money, and I'm just not sure going to be that responsible in using it. I don't know if I want us to have all that debt. It wasn't debt. It was capacity to issue debt. All right? So here I am with what I think is the right way to go, and they blindside me. And I'm saying, that's why I'm saying you want to make it so that you don't, at the end of the day, what the group needs is to not rely on the JPA or the city of Oakland or the county of Alameda for money. Just their thumbs up, and that's it. That's it. Because what they're going to say in a political situation like we're in, with an election year coming up, is, you know what, you're asking for public money for sports, and look what they've done to us. That will be launched the minute some level of money is asked for. And the attorneys that are involved, for all of their historic success, are not Oakland attorneys. And folks, this is a lesson to everybody. When you are fighting a case in a local that is going to wind you up in a local court because it's ostensibly a local issue, you get some of the attorneys on your side that are local. So this attorney group is not big enough. It needs to have some local people that the judges know, so that people are familiar with, so that you get this to march along better. I'm telling you, as a guy who was one step from law school, I'm telling you this. You don't just say, we got the best lawyers in the country. Because you can have the best lawyers in the country, but if they don't know the ins and outs politically, locally, you can get hurt real quick. This is still a people business. And so you need the money, not just for them, but for any other locals on the team. And there are no local attorneys on the team. That's bad. And that's why I'm railing against this, well, we know this, and I have this, and I'm the director of this and everything else. I'm not criticizing Russell or the money or anything else. And I don't know what they do with it, and it's not my business to know. I know that they don't help me, save for Godfather Grizz. In fact, I'll say that. Godfather Grizz and Ray Bobbitt have come and really been an investment assistant to me out of recognition for how I've, done what I've done here. media is not for free. And I say that anybody out there, I've said that to you before, John Marks and others. So let me come back to this as far as the disagreement. Russ and wherever Russ is, thinking, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I only know that the collective of people, and that includes Ray Bobbitt, Godfather Grizz, and everybody else, is looking at this as, what tools do we have out there to use? They're not saying, we're not going to use this. So for Russ to chime in with what he chimed in with, which is, we're not going to use litigation financing, was not the right way to go. In fact, you don't play your hand like that. What you want to do is you want to give the impression that you have all the resources in the world and all the tools at your disposal. You don't want to close anything out. So for us to do that was not a good idea. It just simply was not a good idea. Now, does that mean that anything else wrong is going on? No. Does that mean that you should not donate? No. But what I'm saying is, it would be nice if he comes on the channel once in a while and says, hey, Zeddy's been great help to us, boom. But I took my time to build the website for him. Was that ever used or appreciated? No. I'm being straight out honest. The website is there. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about. I hope that answers your question. There you go. So, as Citron said, you need local just in case you run into a judge that doesn't like lawyers from out of town. Right. Everybody wants to see that. They want to see local representation. I mean, that is law 101. That is the way it works. You have a mix of the local. You have a mix of what they call the sizzle and the steak, right? That's what you want. But that takes money. That takes money. And so, no, that's a real count, Crawford. Crawford was asking if the count. Crawford, that's a real account. And Gen Y Progressive has a question. Says, if the Raiders sign this non-relocation agreement to get the money they need, does that mean they can never ever leave Vegas even if they wanted to? No, it doesn't mean that. Because here's one thing. What we have to see is how the non-relocation agreement is going to be written. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I guarantee with the Raiders there's an out clause someplace. The Raiders never leave themselves without a back door. And I'm not saying that to make fun of the Raiders. Quite the contrary. I'm saying that to compliment the Raiders because they're smart. They know that they're going into what is essentially a situation foreign to them. No one in that organization has ever built a stadium before. Ever. This is all new to them. And I'm not saying that to make fun of them. I am stating a fact. I am stating a fact. And not only have they not built the stadium before, they've never built an NFL stadium in Las Vegas before. All right? They're the pioneers. So if something goes wrong, be it for some reason they don't get the financing, or perhaps for other reasons they don't receive, or some part of the negotiation goes wrong, like with the UNLV, or maybe that the Raiders are being perceived that the negotiations are being held up in some kind of way politically. Whatever. The Raiders need an out. So that's why I say that, okay? That's why I say that. So we've got, that's Gen Y Progressive. Who else did I miss? David Awad says, no, David Awad says, thanks for the nudge, I got that part. I'm going to defend Russell here because Russell is telling the truth from where he sits. Okay? But it was not a good idea for him to say, we're not going to use a litigation finance company, period. It wasn't a good idea for him to write that. It was better for him to say what others have said. We have a number of tools at our disposal. Hey, Barry, that's what he should have said. We have a number of tools at our disposal. That's what he should have said. So, now, we've got, oh, and David says they have to stay for 30 years. It is for 30 years of length. It is that. And yeah, they would have to stay in some form for 30 years. That's the way the lease is written. It's a 30-year lease. It presumes the National Football League is going to last for the next 3 decades. And right now I see nothing to stand in that way. But of course, it doesn't deal with, in its current wording, technological change. That needs to be followed up. I'll look at that. Okay. So it's 1:58 in the morning, and I've been on for 1 hour, 45 minutes, I think, right? Let's see what the control room says. Anyone else have a question while I'm checking on these numbers? Oh, 2 hours and 25 minutes. So I'll go on for another 4 minutes, make it 2 hours and 30 minutes. How's that sound? So back to the watch page, and oh, Barry Lee asks, am I excited for the solar eclipse? Yeah, I am if I'm in town. I hope I am. I am in town to see it. There's a lot going on. Like, I missed the Falcons Stadium Media Day today. I didn't even know about that. Who's going to watch the eclipse? Are you going to watch it? I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch. Yes. Eclipse? Oh, Rick Rice asked me if a finance company is funding the $5 million. Right now, Rick Rice, I don't know. I know they've been in conversations, but I don't know. I know they've been in conversations toward that, but I don't know. However, there are a number of litigation finance companies around the world that put money into potential legal challenges. They ask for no money up front. They take a percentage of the award if one happens. So, there you go. Baller says, hey, Zinni, if Raiders move, who would own the Oakland market? The Niners? So it would mean that the Raiders would never move back to Oakland? No, it wouldn't mean that. As per NFL tradition, what it would mean, unless the NFL passes a resolution to close the market, what it would mean is that the Raiders could come back into the market anytime they wanted to. If Oakland decided it wanted to build a new stadium to bring the Raiders back, as was done in the case of LA, that could happen. But I remind you of something. Right now, the Raiders are in Oakland. And until the Raiders completely physically change addresses, they should always be referred to as the Oakland Raiders. I don't care, and I said, this is different from what I said earlier, I don't care if they sign the non-relocation agreement. If they sign it, they'll be a step closer to being the Las Vegas Raiders. All right? But there you go, okay? So, oh, and Russ, I said you were not lying at all. I didn't say that. So I want to make that clear. For those of you who can't see what I'm talking about, this is a chat list that's going by. And Russell Rivera is part of the fundraiser effort for the legal challenge. Russell Rivera is being, as I said before, he is telling the truth from his perspective. And that's where that is. But as I said before, it is wrong to close out different financing options at this juncture, or to close out advice from people who've been there before you guys. That's all I'm saying. All right? So Russ should not be accused of anything sleight of hand. There's nothing sleight of hand at all. I will defend Russ vigorously against those accusations. That is not the case. Understand? That is not the case. All I'm saying is he can lighten his load by having a litigation finance company out there. a lot and improve the chances. But to just absolutely flat out close that option out is just simply not the right way to go. That's what I'm saying. All right. Hey, good night, Barry. And so, thank you. Russell Bavaria says, I'm not limiting anything. Your advice is noted and discussed. Okay, cool. Patrick M. Blackman says, the NFL is hell-bent on getting Davis out of ownership. You know, I really do get that impression, Mr. Blackman. And that's why I believe the vote was less an indictment against Oakland than it was a test for Mark Davis. It's like, okay, you got this far. Let's see if you can do the rest of this. Let's see if you can really make this work. That's what I believe is happening. All right? So, yeah, that really is what I believe is going on. Now, I want to talk about, before I get out of here, I want to have a little bit more, I want to have another look at the Las Vegas news. Oh, you know what I want to do? I want to see if there's anything new in terms of documents that have popped up on the website of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority 2 days before the meeting. So I'm at the website right now. Meeting details, you've got the agenda, the meeting minutes from the last meeting, public comment, Stadium Authority quarterly, and they've got the finding. And I've read this before, but I'll read it again. There's no new document. There is meeting agenda. It starts August 17th, 1 o'clock, Clark County Chambers, 500 South Grand Central Parkway in Las Vegas. And call to order is number 1, public comments number 2, which should be interesting. In fact, it'll be really interesting. I'll say that because we still don't have an agreement around the whole jobs issue, right? Number 3 is approval of agenda with the inclusion of any emergency items and deletion of any items for possible action. That's standard language. Number 4 is chairman and committee comments, which should be interesting. Number 5 is approval of minutes of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority Board meeting on July 13th, 2017 for possible action. 6, receive a status update from staff on administrative items relating to the operation of the Stadium Authority. That's the budget stuff. 7 is consider and ratify the authorization for the Clark County Department of Finance to submit the Stadium Authority's quarterly economic survey report to the State of Nevada Department of Transportation pursuant to NRS 354.6015 and NAC 354.559 for possible action. And in number 8, receive a status report from the Oakland Raiders on the NFL Stadium project. Number 9, receive a presentation from the Oakland Raiders and the Bank of America regarding the financing of the stadium project. And that, folks, is going to be a ton of fun. Woo-hoo! 10, receive and review a draft resolution finding that the Oakland Raiders or their development affiliate have demonstrated adequate fiscal capacity. They rubber stamped that one before. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Unless certain people on the board push the idea that maybe they haven't done all their due diligence. Now, what do I mean? Well, Bill Hornbuckle raised this issue, and he said it's like we're being asked to rubber stamp the Raiders as developers without really looking at them or the people that they're partnered with first. We need more information, okay? So, and receive a progress update on the personal seat license agreement, receive a progress update on non-relocation agreement, receive a progress update on the estoppel and recognition agreements by the authority in favor of Bank of America. Number 14 is discussion of developing a scope of work and requests for qualifications or proposals for the retention of an owner's representative / development compliance officer to provide recurring professional services to the Stadium Authority for possible action. An ombuds person they haven't had before. Behind schedule. Public comment and adjournment. That's it. That's it. So there you go. No new documents right now. Of course, the Stadium Authority is always full of surprises. So, John Marks has just arrived. And John Davis says, seems Davis has been quiet since he decided to go to Vegas. Yes. David Awad says, you said you weren't using a finance company and now you are. What do you mean by the cost of the entity? What are you guys talking about here? Let me see something. Hey, David, no finance company has been signed up yet. All this is preliminary, okay? Everything. But there is a litigation finance company in the Bay Area that has expressed interest in this, and it should be noted. And I'm saying this way because there are a number of elected officials that to this day believe that the group is going to ask for public money, and they are poised to reject it. I'm telling you this right here. They are poised to reject it. Don't think this is a slam dunk. Okay? So, now, Rick Rice says, yeah, I think Davis has been... Well, I'm not going to repeat that one. And Russell Rivera says, no, we're not, David. We have other plans. 501c3 has cost to operate. This is what the GoFundMe has gone to support. Public relations CPA, and etc. Well, but hey, Russ, that's my point, though. If it's going to support public relations, and you're using, and this is where I get upset, and yet you're using my platform, to publish and to talk about your effort, I would think that you would at least offer to hire me and say, hey, Zinni, here's X amount for your public relations effort, plus the fact that you needed a website. I built a website for you, and as opposed to saying, after asking for one, as opposed to saying, oh, hey, this is fantastic, Zinni, let's work out something, it was like, well, gee, I don't know about the design. Designs are changeable. It was built. It was built. Okay? Built. So that's what I'm getting at. So when you write that on my channel, oh, the website is I'll go to it right now. I'll go to it. Let's see here. Wix.com. Wix.com, because I have a channel that I've used. And so, yeah, Russ, you paid me for, and you wrote that, remember, okay? Russ, you paid me for a report that went internally, primarily. That was what I was primarily paid for, as opposed to social media. It was part of social media, but it was actually that internal effort, and that was only $1,000. But my point is that I have consistently supported this effort in terms of it, and you have never come up out of respect for what I have. And this is what I get to. And you know that I'm right about this. And that's where I'm saying, if you want to lose the wrong supporters, you're doing a good job. Okay? Because remember, you mentioned this on my channel. Dude, this is my channel, my chat. There are people watching this. Understand? You know that eye, the emoji with looking at you was like this, like that? Okay? So there are people watching us. And you don't do that. At all. At all. Just saying. Just saying. So, where are we here? We have a number of things here. Go down here. Oh, there we go. Getting this link up here. I'm actually looking up this subject we were talking about for the link, so I can show that and go forward. Let's see here. That was
Wait a minute. Let's see. Do that. Sorry, folks. I'm looking something up real quick. I'll talk again. I'm looking at a particular device organization here, and not seeing what I'm looking for here. Wait a second. That is A's, Oakland Focus, Bay Area Events, and a number of other places. Okay. This is taking a bit too long for me to dig up, only because we have a number of different items here. Well, wait a minute, I got another idea here. Oakland. There. Okay. There. Forever Oakland. And all right. Godfather Grizz, Forever Oakland, and live stream show Mazzini Media Tech Blog. This is, when I type this, there's so many, and this kind of gets back to what I was trying to explain to Russ, because I've got now, if I type Forever Oakland, Zinni alone, there are 43,800 results that come up on Google alone. I've got material on my Houston blog, Pinterest. I've got material that was picked up on blogs I don't even own, the Raider forums. And this thing is all over the place on other folks' Twitter accounts. So the evidence of what I've done in terms of social media is, wow, pretty out there. Because I didn't even bother to look. I mean, I knew that I'd done a great job, but woo, woo, woo. So, yeah. So, we've got, oh, sure, Russell, I'm happy to talk, okay? I really am. But it's something that we've talked about privately before, and the only reason I'm chafing a little bit is, again, it's a lesson, okay? It really is a lesson. Make sure when you want to come onto anyone's channel and broadcast something, you clear it with them first in terms of what you want to say. I'm happy to have you on as a guest. Absolutely. But my point is that this is something that I too have been involved in. And also I have people out here investing, and my investors are going to want to know, because they put, including yourself, a total of $1,500 into my effort, into keeping this going. And they want to know where their money is going. They know their money is going in keeping me afloat, okay? They know that. But when you come on this channel, particularly as an investor, you should be absolutely committed equally to making sure this platform, which has done a lot for the movement, is remain a going concern. That's my point. All right. So, all right. David Axel says, thank you for the transparency, Zinni. You've been very informative. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to hide at all. This is not, media is not charity. You have people running around here who have done great media in the past. I'll give you an example. Look at John Clayton. John Clayton, ESPN. Highly respected guy in the NFL. I mean, amazing guy. And a Mitch, a great person. But got cut by ESPN television. Now he's on Seattle radio. And they haven't put him on TV anyplace else. And have you seen him resurface any place on a podcast or anywhere that's known? I haven't. Look at all the people at ESPN that have been lopped off. Look at my friend Nestor Aparicio, who started WNST in Baltimore,
He's got sponsors all over the place. All right? This is a business that I'm running. This is my business. It is not a charity. Okay? It is not that. And it is not anything wrong with me pointing it out on my platform. And that's what this is. This is my platform. Okay? Now, can I say anything that I want to? Well, not really, because this is part of YouTube, and I don't want to say anything I want to. There's a community responsibility that I have. That's all I'm saying, okay? So, that's all I'm saying. So, and see, this is what I'm saying. Russ Rivera says John Marks' Facebook page mainly not to diminish what Z did, but my point is he never used the website. As opposed to I'm saying, hey, I'll make a website. Then I made it. So it's not appreciated. It's not as opposed to saying, hey, boom, here's Zinni's site, here's the Forever Oakland site. And that's a bad thing to do. And I don't want to have this conversation, but you know, it'll be great to have a posting. And I think just so we can change the subject, it'll be great if Russ talked more about the Raiders season than about some things that are really internal discussions. Okay? That is not a good idea to use social media for these sort of things. For, you know, among other reasons, I'm going to call you out on it. This is a lesson that I am imparting about how media is done and not done. Okay? Talk about the Raiders. All right? Rather than saying it's not a WSD site. Russ, regardless of what the site that I built for you guys isn't, I built it for you. Regardless of what it isn't, who's that? That's you. And that's an insult. Because I can go back and dig up the emails and texts and everything else where you said, yeah, it would be great to have a site. All right? And Russ says he's typing in chat, I didn't bring this up. Yeah, but you continue to fuel it. That's not smart, man. It just stop just for a second. Put a timeout on yourself. Not, you know, I'm just saying change the subject, because the way you're going about this is not going to make you look good. You were doing just fine about 5-6 minutes ago. Perfect. Perfect. But what I'm explaining to you, and the reason why I'm putting you through this, is to emphasize that you were using my channel to broadcast an effort, and then you turned around and you wrote, well, we paid you already for PR. But you're still trying to use me, dude, and you've been using that for some time. Okay? See ya, Russ. Right says, all right, I'm out. Well, fine. Okay? You all see what I'm talking about? All right? This is a business. Now, I could have done a lot worse. Maybe I should have not said anything about it and just let him ran on about it. But I had to come to Russ's rescue, because even then people were saying, what's going on here? He handled that just totally wrong. Whew. Okay. John Mark says, I'm looking to get a website built for my media company done soon. All right. Cool. John Davis says, so now we know what site. Now we need to know what site we're talking about. Regrai says, to Joe Flacco, an elite quarterback. Yes, because tomorrow, well, today, we're going to have on, we are going to have on my friend Melissa Rubin. And Melissa has been fantastic at, fantastic at being a Baltimore Ravens super fan, as I like to call her. Yes, I did say super fan. Super fan. So she's going to come on and talk about the Ravens and talk about the next how would I put it? She's going to talk about the team that's coming up, the new Ravens. Yeah, the new Ravens. And where that's going to go. That's what she's going to talk about. And what she thinks their prospects are for this season. And not only that, we're going to talk about what I believe will be a year where people talk about the Ravens defense. Yeah, I did say the new Ravens. And here's why I say that, John Marks, because the new Ravens have a young defense that I think is going to be one of the terrors and scourges of the league, and that's based on how they come off the ball. I really say that, okay? They are, I mean, just, whew. I mean, incredibly fast. No question about it. They are incredibly fast. And so I'm really looking forward to talking with her about the new Ravens defense. Hold on a second, folks. I'm getting something I want to show you real quick. Bear with me here. Oh, by the way, okay, so this is, what I'm showing you right now is this is the website that I'm talking about that I developed for We Stand with Oakland, okay? That, you know, Russell said we needed a site. I developed this site. And then it's like, oh, you developed the site. Here's the site, okay? Here's the site. That's the site, okay? And it's got Forever Oakland, We Stand with Oakland. Welcome to Forever Oakland, We Stand with Oakland, okay? There it is. We Stand with Oakland Legal Fund, okay? It's got all the language. Join us, okay? A very simple website that I could simply build off of and redesign. This is it, okay? And I did this because at the time Russell was saying we need a site, and I built that as kind of a starter, right? But then when I built it, it was kind of, I got this kind of milquetoast reaction, even though I spent the time building it, not to be compensated for, right? Just to build it to help out the effort. But then he turns around and says, we have money for PR, and all of you know I've been hunting for clients and everything else. I've been quite transparent about where I'm at in growing this business, and yet you see what he says, right? It's not like, well, hey, you know, and it's like, we paid you for one thing, as if go away. But on my channel, you see I'm getting on my channel, okay? That was, am I wrong? Someone out there tell me about if you think that I'm wrong, because I don't think that I'm wrong. I don't think that I'm wrong. So did you see the website? Do you want to see it again? In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll put the link up so you can look at it yourself. And that way everybody can say they saw it. Now, as you know, Godfather Grizz has been fantastic to me. He really has. This is not an issue of Godfather Grizz. Okay? No. At all. All right? So, and John Mark says, I can see what you mean, Zenny. Yeah. You know, if I'm being very clear about what I can do and my needs and what I'm capable of doing, and then I do it, and it's related to public relations, don't turn around then and say to me, well, I've got a PR budget on my channel, and then act like, even though we've had all these shows and all these supportive tweets and social media, that what I did, no, what they say now, he's basically throwing shade at what I did. Oh, okay. Jesus. Excuse me for using your name in vain. David Awa says, do you think Russ didn't pay your full worth because he's... No, I don't think that's it. You know, I don't honestly know what the reason was. And here's the thing. Let me make one thing clear. I invoiced him for that. I was paid that. But my point is, they didn't come back and say, hey, Zenny, you're out there, you do this, let's work a deal, right? Yet, and you guys have seen this, he comes on time and again and promotes that effort. As if this channel were established just for his effort, and it wasn't. It was not. So the idea of asking for permission to do what he does is foreign, because he assumes it's okay to just use this for, you know, whatever he wants to, in terms of whatever message he wants to convey or whatever he wants to say. Okay? But then turn around and then hire somebody else to do social media, which technically was what I'm already doing. See? Now, whatever that's tied to, whatever that reason is, all I know is it's not right. It's not right. Okay? And so Donna says, don't get too mad about it. I'm not mad. I'm animated. And I'm animated. And John Davis asked a question, did he not like the design content or what? No, I don't think he did, but see, John, that's a good question, because design can be changed. If you don't like it, tell me what you like. You have a vessel to use. But again, he and I talked. I said, I will build you a web. I said that. I was actually behind schedule in doing one, just, you know, to help out. I did. And I did. Thank you. Rick Rice says, you're right, Zenny. Yeah. Folks, you have friends and relatives and kids out there, and those of you who are in your teens and watching this, don't let people use you, because they will use you the first chance they get, and they will think nothing of it. It's not that they're bad people, but sometimes you have to say to some people, hey, you know what? I've got this of value, and you're using it, and you need to stop using it like that. You need to respect the fact that I have this. John Marks says, I would pay you for your hard work, which is why when the time comes, I'll ask to be a part of my new media company. And John, and no, here's the thing. John Marks has been straight up with me. Everybody has. Karen Christensen contributes what she can to keep this going, and God love her for that. You know, Kook Snipe, same thing. We have 31 different investors, including Russ, but who put in whatever they can put in, and they are all fantastic. But they deserve to know that this business can grow and that their investment is respected. And it would be disrespectful to these folks who've given up money that could go to something else if I were to allow it just to be used by somebody without paying for whatever they wanted to do and their message. You know, without ad infinitum. And again, you know, I've had Russ on here and everything else. That's great. The only thing that set me off was, first of all, this whole financing issue, which is, oh, we're not going to use that and you're wrong and I'm the director. Well, fine. I'm glad he's the director. But to just say we're not going to use that, as opposed to saying, as you know, when, okay, look, when I was under the understanding it was, and it's an idea to go with, it's kind of like, okay, why so vociferously say that on a news channel? This is a news channel. So then I'm forced to look at his comment and think, oh my God, you know, do I actually say that? And then I have to go for it and say it. Because it's in black and white. And I know it's not true. And see, these are things where he should, if he has an issue, he should turn around and say, you know what? Let me send an email to Zenny about these things and just say, hey, Zenny, I'm going to email you offline, and leave it at that. Right? That's the way to handle it. But he didn't do that. Donut says, yeah, and like LX9933 says, I agree with you, Zenny. Nothing is free. You know, and it's a matter of how a person is treated. You know, you want, what is it called? It's the old Mary Poppins song. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. The medicine go down. The medicine. You get what I'm saying? Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful way. That is true. It was true then. It's true now. You know? A little honey. Russell has got to understand what that means. A little honey. That's all. So, And John Davis says, who owns that page? Right now, that page is on mine, okay, in terms of that site. But I can give them access to that or, you know, whatever. But, you know, never bothered to broach it. 831 Scott, who's one of our top investors, I might add, says, hopefully Russ doesn't take things personal, thinks about your point of view, and comes back with an apology, Zenny. I agree with you and don't blame you for being upset, Zenny. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that, okay? I really do. Because, you know, you all see what I'm talking about. And I feel, you know, bad that this came out this way, but it's there. It really is there. Because you have somebody who has the resources to say, hey, I'm going to engage him because he's got this apparatus that works around the clock. As opposed to, well, you kind of like did your thing and you don't really matter. Oh, really? Okay. Really? I'll think about that one. You know? Right. Right. So, all right. Rick Rice says, sounds like a lack of communication is the cause of this. Well, I think it's a lack of listening. Because look, Russell and I have had these conversations privately. So it's not like I haven't brought this up before. I have, but I've done so privately. And yet sometimes folks don't get the message. So I don't know what I could do except what I did to be clear in a public setting, all right? So John Davis says, sounds like Rivera wants the page to edit since he paid for it. Well, he didn't pay for the page, though, and I'm glad you said that, John. The page was something that here's what was paid for. I did research for the organization. They paid for that. That's what I did. We had a name for it that was social media. That's what I did. But the website that I did for him because he said we need a website. I said, don't worry about it. I'll just make you one and we'll start from there. And I did. That's what I did. But what I'm chafing about is the amount of value that they've received from me is far in excess of that one engagement. And when I say the value is everything from Russ coming on here and posting a link to his GoFundMe page, and not only that, constantly, time after time after time, saying, you know, go to this place, invest in that, all right? And, you know, 1 or 2 times is fine, but it would be nice if once he said, or twice he said, hey, you know what, invest in Zinni 62. Or we made a deal with Zinni where, you know, if there's a split, you put here, and then part of it goes to the effort if you go to this page. You know, something that acknowledges my media platform. But if a person doesn't do that, and yet they keep using your media platform to get their message out, it's a sign that it didn't even occur to them to even think that way. And now, after dropping so many hints, like boulders, I had to actually drop a bomb. Okay? That's what happened. Do you get that? Do you understand, John Davis? You see what I'm getting at? And then what got me, John Davis, to further the point, is he didn't even recognize on this thread the existence of my website. He said, except for what Z did. But he mainly referred to the Facebook page. He didn't say, hey, you know what? Zinni's got a page. And not only that, the website that I built has a link to the same page. So it all goes to the same place. It all goes to him. He still benefits. So he can't say that I built something that benefits me. It benefits him. And that effort. Whew, man. So, John says, let's not be divided on anything. We know Russell has a good heart. Right. And so, yeah, that's right. And Crawford says we need to regroup. The focus is on beating the NFL and the Raiders. Yeah, and that's it. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I say Oakland efforts when they get people who are involved who are being of an activist type, there's always people who want to do things one way and someone wants to do it a different way. That's natural. Where things go bad is when you have different groups of people who want to do the same thing in a different way. That's bad. And so what Russell should not have done was indicated that kind of division by saying, oh, we're not going to do that. Whoa, wait a minute. If that's out there as another resource, say nothing. Just say nothing. So anyway, yeah. Okay, so it's 2:38 in the morning, almost 3. And you know what? I am exhausted. Tomorrow, Melissa Rubin, maybe one other guest. Not at the same time, though. I want to give Melissa the luxury of her full knowledge about the Ravens, which is considerable. She's a long-time season ticket holder, all right? And as Crawford would say, you can bet your last money it's all going to be a stone gas, honey. See, I said the whole thing. And John Mark says, Mark Davis, NFL in Vegas, will not prevail. Thank you all very much for being here, being investors, investing when you can, and, keeping this going. That's the main thing. And so I say out the door, invest or buy a t-shirt. Well, actually, that's the website. That wasn't this PayPal. That was the website. But I do encourage you to take a look at the website. That's the PayPal. But take a look at the website, because I built that. It took me 10 minutes to finish it, 10 or 15 minutes. Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. All right. Good night, everybody. I'm gonna say good night. Good night, all. See you. Okay. Good night. Okay. See you. Good night. Good night. Okay. Hey, Russell. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. See you guys. Yes, you can. My email is zenny@zenny62.com. Love, peace, and soul. Thank you all very much. Thank you all. That's my email. Thank you. See ya.